And we are live. So usually, usually I try to allow people to come in,
Okay.
say hello, good evening, welcome to another live with Hanifa Nayela. I am Hanifa Nayela. Today is no different. We are here. I am here every Friday at 5 p.m bringing you some content that either provokes thought or encourage growth, inspires, and all of that good stuff. Okay, usually positivity. So if you are here, make sure you let us know that you're here in the comment section. Just say hi. Inya, I see you as usual.
Hi.
Pieces, as usual. Quantum was here. She just showed her love and stepped away. I'm sure she'll be back. Peace to you, Inya. If you're just joining us, make sure you let us know that you're here. In the comment section, say hi, so we can highlight your comment and so that the guests can also know that you are here. Today, we are discussing self forgiveness. And I am definitely going to go over why I choose that particular topic to talk about. It is the end of January. I see Mr. Baba.
Just stop the hair. No, what? Okay, Star. Hi, Star.
Hey, Baba. Thanks for joining us. um, so I'm going to definitely go over. Let me just a little bit of house rules. So at the bottom of the screen, if you have not subscribed as yet, just go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That way, every time I go live, you will get a notification that I am live. Also, if you're not following me on Instagram, feel free to do so at this time at the real Hanifa Nayela. That's who I am on Instagram. And people usually ask, so I made sure that I put this in. If you're feeling generous and you want to send some sort of a donation or something, my Cash App is also at the bottom. So feel free to send your donations. I am open to that. Okay, so we have who else we have here? We see Sedonia. Hey,
Hey,
Sedonia.
Sidonia.
All right.
Erica.
I see Erica. Hey, Erica. Okay, we got the whole family in the house today. And yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm a 219. Yeah, I'm growing slowly but surely. I appreciate all the love. How you feeling, sis?
I'm good.
This is going to be a real light, casual conversation. Oh shoot, girl, big sis is in the house. Oh, okay, we see this is Timothy. Timothy. So I'm assuming
Hi,
you know who this.
Timmy.
That's okay. And then we have Aisha. This is big sis. How are you? Okay, we have who else? Taisha. Taisha Coleman. Peace to you. Thank you for the support and tuning in. Hey, Genesis. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you moderating tonight, please. Okay. All right. So we're gonna go ahead and just get started. As people come in, I'll highlight the Taisha said yes, that's her name. Peace to you, Taisha. Thank you for joining us. Hey, aunt.
Hey, Jamiqua.
She said okay, we know it's a family thing. All right, niece. Jamiqua is saying, hey, aunts, y'all cute. Thank you. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and get started because we have 14 people in here. As people begin to come in, I'll highlight your comments again. Let's get into it. So why don't you start, Tata, by telling me or us who are listening
Mhm.
just a little bit about yourself. Well, let me start by saying the reason why I chose to have this conversation with you in particular is because I was thinking about doing something on self-forgiveness, and I really wanted to bring someone on to kind of like talk about someone maybe that had an experience that they may have had to deal with forgiving themselves and probably
Mhm.
still continue to have to deal with forgiving themselves. And of course, I was like, I know someone. And then you came to mind. I was like, this is perfect. I hope she says yes. And I just knew that when I send you a message about it, you'd have been like, for what? But I didn't get that response. And this conversation, even though you're here and you're going to tell us about your story,
Mhm.
I don't want you to feel the pressure that the main focus of the self forgiveness is on you.
Mhm.
We're gonna have conversation just about self forgiveness in general because we all deal with having to forgive ourselves about something. You know,
Right.
it doesn't have to be as drastic as your experience. It could be
Mhm.
something really small that just eats at you. But
Mhm.
we all deal with it at some point or another. And we could I mean I'm gonna get into all of that as well. But let me check before you answer. Let me see who else came in. We have Angelina. Hey, Angelina. Thank
Why?
you for joining in. And Genesis. Oh, yeah. Okay. That's my moderator, y'all. Okay. Okay. She said everybody here except Leo.
No, Baba.
Baba said everybody here except Leo. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Just kind of like who you are, where you're at right now, before we even jump into why we're having this conversation. Can you do that?
Sure. I'm Tahita, better known as Tata. Um, what was the other question you say?
Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm a
Anything.
mom of two.
Mhm.
Recently a grandma, not recently, but he's a year old now. I now reside in Georgia. I'm from St. Thomas, Virgin Islands.
Okay, okay. So now you claiming the grandma title. I love it.
Grandma slash auntie, still auntie. I ain't get with a grandma, even though he's a year, it's still in, yeah.
Okay, okay. Um, Disha, Disha
Hi,
Greenway,
Disha.
Disha, and then we have Ron P.
Hi,
He's
Ron.
he's usually here to support. Appreciate all the love and support. Okay, so I'm gonna get into my first question. You just told us about yourself. Okay,
Mhm.
so we are aware that you did some time, right?
Mhm.
In the feds, right? Is that what
Right.
can I okay.
Yeah.
All right. How long were you there?
I was sentenced to 28 months.
28 months.
Mhm.
Did you do those full 28 months?
Um, no, I did 25 or 26.
Okay, so
Yeah,
like 2 months
24. Yeah.
shorter.
Yeah, I came home on good behavior and everything. Yeah.
Okay, all right. What did you go in for?
My charges was possession of cocaine with the intent to distribute.
Okay, so possession of cocaine with the intent to distribute. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So why before we get any deeper into that, let's talk about your life before you even went away.
I had a basically normal life, working two jobs, my two kids, normal,
Just regular normal life.
just regular normal life.
Okay. So you want like a little thug or anything?
No, no.
Okay. Okay. Um, all right. So can you tell me who you were going in versus coming out? Do you feel like you're still very much the same person or the experience there has kind of transformed you?
I think I'm a totally different person. Not too much, but coming back out because you see a lot, you learn a lot, you be mad with yourself a lot. So I think I'm a different person going in and coming out. Two different people. Not two the same, but mind frame mentally, yeah, different.
Okay, so what are some of the noticeable changes you would say? Like something that comes to your mind immediately.
Probably a lot of patience. And yeah, I mean, stopping and thinking. Usually before it's just like, I gonna do this, I gonna do this, I gonna do that. And in there you have a lot of time to stop and think.
So now that you out on the outside now, coming
Mhm.
out, you are more patient than you
I
were
think so.
going in.
I think so.
Why do you think that is?
Because in there just teach you a lot about patience and self-consciousness, just a lot of different stuff about yourself that you probably didn't even know that was going on with you.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay. So in there, there's a you develop patience. So you're not developing patience from the dealing. Are you developing patience from the dealing with the other people around you in there?
People, period.
Okay,
In
okay,
general, yeah.
okay. What else? What else would you say changed? You have more
Um,
patience. What else?
I would say, my mind of thinking, as far as this could never be me, it will never happen to me. And you meet a lot of people in there that is like, whoa, no way. Normal everyday mom, grandma, auntie, just and people, and some of them is not even. I always say prison is made for everybody. It's not like you're a criminal, you're a murderer. No, they have a lot of innocent people in there, and they have a lot of people, like I always say, just wake up one day normal. I had a bunkie, and she just went out drinking and having fun with her friends. And on her way back home, she hit this guy and he died. And she was charged with manslaughter. She had a normal life, a mom. Yeah. So I always would think, like, maybe prison is not for everybody.
Uh oh, you're frozen. Uh oh, Tata, can you hear me? Uh oh, Tata, you're frozen. Let me see what happened. Let me
That was
see.
mine.
Yeah, that was you.
Oh,
I think
sorry.
you were about to go in real sweet, and then it just froze.
Okay, where was I? I was saying it
You were
changed
saying
my
that she got
way of
into it. Go ahead.
thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it changed my way of thinking because growing up, you always know bad people go to prison. So in your mind is like, okay, prison is made for bad people. But
Mm-hmm.
when you get in there and you meet a lot of people and you see they are regular people just like me. They're not murderers. They wasn't doing this. Like I say, I had a bunkie that
Mm-hmm.
went out with her friends, drinking, having fun, and on her way back home, she knocked down a guy. She said she thought it was a dare,
Ooh.
but it was actually a guy, walking across the street or the road, and she actually didn't see him. So, like I say, she was a normal person, and guess what? She got 8 years for that. She was charged with manslaughter. So, the fact that you always think that prison is not for you, we have to stop thinking like that. It's made for everybody. And the prison doors, it doesn't have murderer, this for you, drug dealer, this for you. It doesn't have a sign on the door. It's made for
Mm.
everybody. You're not
Mm.
exempt.
Yeah, I remember you saying that once in another interview where
Mm-hmm.
it could be something as simple as being in the wrong place at the wrong
Wrong
time,
time. Correct.
right? And you just get swept up in whatever is happening. And then, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You might not have the resources for a really good lawyer or something,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
Which happens to a lot of Black people, right?
Right.
Not having the access to the
Mm-hmm.
resources we need to actually hire someone to do
Mm-hmm.
that work and to either give us a lower amount of time or to
Right.
actually help us get off, period. And
Right.
there you are swept up in something that happened. You could be in
Mm-hmm.
somebody's house. You know what I
Or somebody car riding around in the car and don't know what they have in the car. If the car get pulled
mean?
over, it don't belongs to nobody. But this car, everybody gonna go.
Yeah. Now,
Mm-hmm.
Baba said something to where you said, "Peace, E Black. Thank you for tuning in. It's all right. Thank you for showing your love."
True.
Um,
That's true, Baba.
yeah, Baba said you learn patience in jail because there's not much of choice.
Mm-hmm.
Someone telling you when to eat, when to sleep, when to wake up. You learn patience in there because you know you never want to go back.
True.
Right. So it sounds
True.
like you're forced to develop some form of self-discipline.
Correct. And I always feel like everybody needs a place to be alone and reflect and grow. I'm not
Mhm.
saying it's prison, but for me, mine was prison. We always need a peace of mind to get away from everything and reflect on us life, be able to grow. And for me, mine's just happened to be prison.
Yeah, that's a
Mhm.
good point. That's a good point. Yes. So I see my moderator, guys. The likes, when you hit the likes, it actually helps. So if you're in here
Hit the likes,
watching,
guys.
right,
Hit
because
those
I
likes.
when I go on people's lives, I forget to hit the like button too. So I'm not shaming you guys. I'm just reminding you, go back out and hit the like button. And also, if you haven't subscribed as yet, hit the subscribe button so that every time I go live on Friday at 5 p.m., you get an alert. And it's totally up to you whether you want to join the conversation or not. Also, if you're here, just bear in mind there will be a point in the show I'm going to share the link and you can come up and have and join the conversation with us. You might have a question for me or my guest, and you can just come on up to the stage. It's fine. Genesis said no. Well, my moderator is shaming you guys.
Come on, guys, hit those likes button. Let's go.
Okay, so there was something that I was about to. There was something that I was going to ask you that you said. It's probably gonna come back to me.
Okay.
Okay, so let's see. Okay, you already answered. Can you tell? Okay, for one more time, can you tell me what the charges was?
Possession of cocaine with the intent to distribute.
Got you. Okay. I'm just writing it because in case it comes back up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So let me see. Like that. Okay. So now you get to a place where you know that you're about to be charged, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you know, okay, I'm about to go away. I guess at some point you know that.
Right.
What's going on? Like, is this like unreal? Is it like, I'm about it, or is it like, are you in shock? Like, what's happening? What do you remember?
I remember, okay, I got arrested on a Thursday and went to prison. And then the Friday, I got, not bound up, but they send you home with the ankle monitor on your foot. And I remember, I think my son was in school, and I remember talking to his dad, and he was like, this is a conversation you have to have with the kids because I don't even know where to start. So I was like, okay, I got it. So the kids came home from school, and I remember sitting them down in the bed and telling them, I got arrested. Of course, they already know, and there's a possibility that I might be going to prison. And we all broke down. We all cried. And then, of course, in that process, you go to court. The court get pushed back. Yada, yada, yada. It just been a little process, months. And then, I think like 3 or 4 days before actually sentencing, I went to meet with my attorney, and she was like, okay, this might be the last court date, and you actually might be doing some time. So, of course, I had to go back home, sit the kids down, and tell them, there's a possibility I'm going to be going away for a while, but I'm not sure how long I'm going to be gone. So, yeah. Okay. So the emotions was just scared, because now I leaving these kids behind. They're accustomed to me every day. Mommy this, mommy that. Is like, I know daddy going to still be there regardless, because, he's strong, but it's still regret, scared, kind of about it, but still kind of afraid because you don't know what to expect in there, because you always hear these stories. So yeah, basically scared, afraid, disappointed, like I say, about it, but still afraid at the same time because you don't know what to expect.
Yeah, so it's like trying to like hype your mind up, like,
right, it's like I'm supposed to be right, I got this. Yeah.
So I totally understand what you're saying. So here's the other side of it. So we don't come from a family where we do like a lot of mushiness. So there hasn't been any conversation,
Right.
And for those of you guys who are tuning in, this is my biological sister. She is my little sister. I just don't know why my mom is holding back that information. She needs to just go ahead and release it. But anyway, this is my biological sister. And so from our end, I would speak for myself. So let me just say this. When I was doing the thumbnail for the show, I was going to use the word mistake. And we could get into that real briefly. I was going to use the word mistake, and I was like, no. Because here's what I believe. A mistake is something like you put the wrong answer on the application somewhere and you knew the right answer. You just put it in the wrong place. That's a mistake. But when there is something that you understand the consequences of and still choose to do it, then it's just a bad decision. Right. And I think sometimes we try to soften the blow by calling things mistakes that are just simply bad decisions. Right. And I think the only way to really grow from them is to call them as they are, right, and get a bad decision so that then you can grow from there. Because if you call it a mistake it's for me, this is my opinion. I feel like you're trying to relieve yourself of some of the accountability. Do you get what I'm saying?
Right.
So this particular thing, I was, as I was preparing for it, I'm just like, I don't, and that's okay. You could give me the feedback on that. If you agree, it's fine. If you don't, it's fine as well. But as I was thinking about it, I was like, no, it's a bad decision. It's not a mistake. It's a decision that you know that there were consequences.
Sequences.
Exactly. If you, so how do you feel about that? Mistakes versus bad decisions?
I agree with you. I agree.
Okay. Okay, because I know sometimes, and in general, even though I think let me hit the comment section real quick. Sidonia said being around you, she think is even more, you're even more aware of your surroundings
and people. Yeah.
You paranoid? You paranoid?
Not paranoid, but just more aware.
Okay.
Yeah.
Baba don't believe you, clearly. He said about it. He sucked his teeth. Enya says she's happy that you had the support to help you through it. So that's what I'm going to get to now. So saying all of that, because we're family, I could speak from my perspective in saying like, okay, dang it, Tata know better. You get what I'm saying? But still finding myself being protective of you, right? Like, nobody better not say anything stupid. Okay? Like, I'm being honest, you know what I'm saying? Because even though we're not a mushy family and it's not like we're not over affectionate with each other, we will go to war for each other.
True.
That's always been that way, right? So I know that when you kind of went away, I kind of got, I felt protective, but I also was aware of the fact that there's a consequence for every action.
Right.
You know what I mean? So still holding you accountable, but still being protective of you. I know that was my experience. You know what I mean? Okay. Jamiqua say, I'm the family member, was like, nope, she ain't do nothing. Totally in denial. Disha said, I agree that it was a bad choice versus a mistake. Yeah, and that's okay. It's okay to call things what they are, because I think that's where we grow. So I'm going to get into some other questions. Has there been like time since being released where you've been like really, really hard on yourself? Because the way that I perceive or understand self-forgiveness, it's a journey. It's not necessarily a destination, right? You don't just pull up and be like, I forgive myself.
Right.
And especially in your situation, I'm sure there are things that you probably encounter that thing that you did, that bad decision, smacks you right in the face. So you have to face it all over again, right?
Yeah.
So has there been times since you've been released where you've been like really, really hard on yourself?
Yeah. Like first coming home, finding a job is like, and then I'm in Georgia. So Georgia is kind of like a self-forgiveness state. Okay. So it's a like, don't ask, don't tell. So
really?
that box you have to check if you're a felon. You don't have to check that box with some of the jobs.
Okay.
Some of them, they don't care. As long as you could come in and you could do this work, we could care less what went on in your previous life. And I want to go back to as far as me relocating.
Okay.
The reason I relocated from the Virgin Islands, because that's where the crime was, and I relocated in Georgia. While I was in prison, me and my attorney did the paperwork as far as relocating to Georgia, because I honestly felt we've come from a small community where we watch and we judge people. So for me, I felt like going back home, finding a job, trying to start over, it's going to be fingers pointing like, you don't know who she is. She got arrested for such and such and such. So I was kind of debating with myself and hard on myself, because it's like, if you had this didn't happen, that wouldn't have happened. If you didn't do this, that wouldn't have happened. So I was kind of hard on myself. So I said, you know what? I don't want to go home because I lived there all my life. I need a different life. I need a change. I need to start all over. Okay. So I relocated to Georgia. Of course, they had to do the paperwork, send to the judge, send to this, probation, do all of that. And when I got approved, and my attorney called me while I was in prison. I had a prison attorney call, and I was like, what my attorney calling me for? What happened? Something happened to my family member. And I go and I answer the phone, and she was like, hey, Miss George, I just want you to know that we got the okay for you to relocate to Georgia. I start to break down and cry because I felt like it was like the heaven's gate opening, like, hallelujah, and even when I first moved to Georgia, it was kind of hard because I didn't get the job that I wanted, or I was thinking like, when I come home, I gonna work this place, I gonna work that place. So I was hard on myself as far as finding a job. And within the first month, I start filling out application all over. I say, I don't care who call me, it could be the garbage truck. I gonna work. And McDonald's called me, and that was one of the first job. And I start working McDonald's, and still, I start finding better and better and better and better. So yeah, it was kind of hard. I used to be hard on myself first coming home and still inside. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and even saying that, I see some comments. I'm gonna make sure I shout some people out. Let me see. Oh, Enya have a question. I'll come back to Enya's question. We have Philip Dishaza. I hope I'm saying your name right. He says big ups to Georgia. Shout out to Chef. He says peace to Hanifa and Tahida. And Ron P says he's born and raised in Georgia. I'm gonna get to Enya because she has a actual question to you. But I wanted to respond to what you just said, which was, you were hard on yourself. But one thing I'm going to say I admire about you, and I am so proud of you, and I respect, you came out ready to.
Yeah, I was ready.
Oh, no, I know.
Yes.
You came out ready. You had your list because,
yes.
we have a family WhatsApp chat, guys, and it's usually lit in there. My sisters are off the hook, just so y'all know. But you would come in and be like, okay, I got to get this. I got to get a car. Because it was like starting from scratch.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because you had all those things before you went in.
Correct.
And probably plus.
Right.
Because some of the barriers that you have right now, you didn't have before.
Right.
You have to kind of like, tackle some things to
right.
get to where you want to get to. But I am very proud of you.
Thank you.
If I've never said it, I'm very proud of how far you've come in the matter of time that you've been home. I am proud of your grind.
Thank you.
Because you were determined to get yourself on your feet. And I really believe it's more of a dependency thing.
Yes.
You don't want to be in a space where you're like leaning on people.
Right. Yes.
And I think that played a big, big part in it. And that's okay. I'm actually proud of you.
Thank you.
Okay, so let me go back to Enya before I move on. Enya wanted to know, Tata, if she said, if I may, do you deal with PTSD? If so, how do you get through it?
I wouldn't say I deal with PTSD. I deal with more, like I'm still hard on myself sometimes. I still go through those, phases and stuff like that. So how I deal with it is I have a therapist. So I see it. Actually, I'm supposed to see her on Tuesday. So I try to see the therapist at least once or twice a month. Or if I feel like I'm so overwhelmed, I need somebody to talk to, I need somebody to guide me, I call my therapist and like, hey, I feel like I'm ready to explode. And she's like, okay, when do you want to come? Boom, boom, boom. Just like this week here. February 1st is going to make 3 years since I've been home. And I just feel like I have accomplished, not where I want to be, but I came a long way. So therefore, I called her yesterday and I just want to go with her on Tuesday, which is the 1st, to sit with her because, of course, February 1st is going to make 3 years. So I just want to sit and show her how I have grown and stuff like that. So to answer the question, I don't think I go through PTSD, but I have those moments. And for those when I have those moments, I pick up the phone and I call my therapist and I set appointments and I go in there and I boohoo my tears out. I say how I feel. Maybe I can't pick up I can't pick up the phone. I call a friend or a sister or mom. If I tell a therapist, it stays there. So yeah, that's what I do once I go through those stages and stuff like that. Yes, I call my therapist.
That's good. It's good to have someone to call, and usually someone that don't know you personally, someone that it can remain neutral. And a judgment-free zone as well. You know what I'm saying? Because I find just as Black people and culturally, Caribbean culture, I want to say Black people in general. And that's because I have a lot of African American friends. It's the same thing. We have this culture of, oh, you'll be fine.
Right.
So that person could be in pain, and our response is, oh, you'll get over it.
Right. Pray about it.
Yeah, because we have a history of resilience as Black people. And so we don't really entertain pain. And I think that is detrimental at certain points because some people really need help.
Right. And
And
not that sometimes you tell people like, I might need to see a therapist or a
mhm,
psychiatrist, and they're like, what you need to see them people for?
right,
Make you feel like something is wrong with you. So you
right.
shame, you keeping everything inside. No. If you need to see them, seek help. I say that all the time. Get
Yeah,
it. Get the help.
because mental health, and I just had, if you
Woo.
guys haven't watched the show last week, Friday, I just had Natasha on talking about that. It's still
Mm-hmm.
very much a taboo topic in
Yes.
the Black community in
Yes.
general.
Yes.
And so what ther- therapy or a therapist translates into crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we interpret it. You see
And
the
also,
person,
not to cut you off, I
no, you're
remember like
fine.
when I first went into prison and I was going through a lot of withdrawals, but it was mostly not being there for the kids' birthday, Christmas, holidays. That's always big holidays for us, and especially birthdays for the kids. I
Mhm.
remember the first time I cried in prison, my son was graduating from 6th grade to 7th grade. And I called his dad phone. I was like, let me speak to him. And, I just want to say congratulations. And he said, I can't give him the phone. They already line up to start marching. And
Mhm.
that was my reality. Like, oh my God, I'm in this place and I'm not there for my child. So, and I was going through a lot of, blaming myself and upset with myself. So I started to see a therapist. They diagnosed me with depression and anxiety. And they probably say you probably been suffering with that all your life and you just probably didn't know.
Mhm.
So I was diagnosed in prison with depression and anxiety, and that was because I just was having those moments where I would beat myself up not being there for my kids.
Yeah, yeah. Let me check the comment section real quick because I see some new people came in. And Baba Shonov talking about the VI. I should post this on my status. Baba out here snitching on the VI people,
What
y'all.
he say,
He
Virgin?
said Virgin Islands is the hardest place to change your life. You could save a bunch of kids from a burning building, and people gonna still be like, "Oh, but you still a convicted felon."
Facts. Not to talk about my home. I love my home
Of
dearly,
course,
but we know it is what it is. It is what it is
it
with
is what it is.
some situations. So we're not gonna say everything, but certain situations.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. People can't live certain things down for
Right.
sure. Rico, good afternoon, chat and fam. Hey, Rico, thank
Here
you
we
for being
go.
here. Arshawn, hello, family. Been driving and listening. This is my buddy. These are my YouTube family, Tata.
Okay. Hi.
Lisa, she said peace to Rico. Taisha says, I appreciate your vulnerability to you, Tata.
Thank you.
Let me see who else. I saw something. Okay, that's Rico. Oh, Sherelle. I wanted to make sure I shout out Sherelle. Sherelle, we miss you in
Mhm.
these YouTube streets. It's been a while, but I heard someone, I read a comment somewhere that they said your schedule changed. So it's good to see you as always, Sherelle. Okay, they're just talking to each other. They ain't paying us no mind. Okay. Oh, okay, wait. Arshan has a question. She said, how did you tell your friends you were going to jail and did anyone react unsupportively? That's a good question.
Huh. Well, I didn't even have to tell my friends. Like I said, we come from a small island. So as soon as I got arrested, they actually had pictures of me being arrested, going in to the police vehicle. So that's how people is. I got arrested on a job. They had pictures of me going around showing that I was arrested. So I really didn't have to tell nobody. Everybody just basically came to me when I came home that Friday, basically came home. And yeah, I had family was supportive and friends was supportive. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, there's usually to even respond to his question. I'm sure there was like whispers in the corners,
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes when you deal with oh, let me just say, sometimes when you fall, there
Mm-hmm.
are always those people who try to pretend like they love you, and then the
Mm-hmm.
truth them come out. You
Comes
know what
out
I'm
right.
saying? And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, so that's how you really felt all this time, because
Right.
sometimes people are dealing. It might be jealousy. It could be anything, and
Mm-hmm.
so it's like they're happy to see that you actually have a fault. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
like you're like, oh, she's not perfect and she
Right.
presents herself a certain way. Because,
Right.
and if I could be honest, some of y'all, I'm gonna say this. My sister is a diva, right? And she keeps herself a certain way and she carries a certain energy, and anyone that's around her can deny it. And I'm her little sister and I've been around her. And I hope you're aware of that, Tata. You carry a certain energy
Mm.
with you. You're very likable. You're
Mhm.
very likable, right? And so
Mhm.
you exude this sort of like confidence. You take care of yourself. You take pride in taking care of yourself. And sometimes people don't always know what to do with that. And
Mhm.
so when something like this happens,
Mhm.
right, it becomes
Mhm.
a thing of like, oh, she thought she was all that.
Right.
No,
Right.
she just liked to look good. That's
Right.
all.
Oh, I heard it all. She liked money. They did. I heard it all. Trust. Yeah.
Okay. So we have Mia.
Hey,
Hey,
Mia.
family. I am proud of you too. I love you, always positive. Quantum is back. Peace, Quantum. I told my sister you will be back at some point. You usually come through and support. Okay, so let me move on, Tata, because I'm
Okay.
watching the time.
Mhm.
Okay. Um, let's talk a little bit about, I don't want to get into the self-forgiveness yet. Okay. You talked about having a little bit more patience,
Mhm.
right? Now, you talk about the patience piece almost like it just happened naturally. And I think
Mhm.
like when Baba touched on it, he was
Mhm.
like, you're forced to. And we all know how habits are formed. You do something enough times, it becomes a part of who you are,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
So when I asked about some things you've changed about yourself after that experience,
Mhm.
now Sidonia touched on one a little bit. I'm talking about the things that you're deliberately, like you're deliberate about now. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
one example would be what Sidonia said, where you kind of like a little bit careful
Mhm.
of the space, probably the spaces and the people you're around.
Mhm.
Um, can you give me any others like where you're actually deliberate, like something like if me and you go out that I
Mhm.
won't even be thinking about that you probably thinking about?
Hmm. I don't know. Maybe like she said, I like to watch my surroundings. I don't know.
Why do you think that is though?
I don't know, because coming from a place like India, you always have to watch your back. You always have to, be aware of what's going on around you. So you come back home with that same mind frame, that same energy. Not saying everybody's gonna jump on you, but at the same time, you just have to be ready and just watch what's going on. You don't want to get catch off guard and be like, hey, how I let that happen? How I didn't see this? Or you'll be like, I know that was going to happen. That's why I said let's go. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Um, what are the areas that you think that you've grown most in?
Hmm. Maybe listening,
Hmm?
understanding.
You didn't listen before?
No. Maybe more, I would say more listening and understanding
Uh-huh.
and aware of my surroundings. Hmm.
Okay. So you don't think you listened and understood before?
No,
So
no.
what
More
do
so
you
now, I would probably just stop and think before I do something.
Okay. So the process of like you know, doing something, the process towards doing something
Hmm.
or something becoming an action looks a little different for you. You
Right,
probably take a little longer. You
right.
know what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
so less impulsive. You're not quick
Hmm.
to, as reactionary maybe as you used to be.
Yeah, I
So
would say so.
when we were growing up, right? I'm about to put your business out there a little, just a little bit, just a little bit. I want to say now, all of us kind of had our own thing, right? And let's talk about that just a little bit. I think Tata was the one with the temper. Okay. I see my sister do some stuff when we were younger that you'd be like, did you really have to do that though? You know?
Oh, well, I see. That's something that I have grown. I have grown. Like
Yeah,
I
that's what I
said,
mean.
I
That's what
have
I
grown. Like I
mean.
said, going in, you ask, I felt like, yeah, about it, about this life. I can go in prison, do this time, come home. And then it's like, whoa, hold up. You're not on the streets. You're not home with your family. You're not, yeah. So, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Oh, Ashan is like, man, the picture everywhere. The time of the picture when you got arrested.
Yes, yes. It was sent around. It was posted on Facebook. It was, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We had a whole collage about all the co-defendant who
Oh
was in the
yes, I
crime,
remember that.
who wasn't even, Lord, who wasn't even, yeah. We
Yeah,
did it
yeah.
all.
I
Mhm.
remember that. And I remember I was just need like I live my life a certain way anyway. and I carry myself a certain way. And I remember the collage, and I was just like sucking my teeth or whatever. I was just like, because it was really little subtle things that people were doing. It
Right.
wasn't like straightforward, like, and even straightforward to where somebody's like, Tahida, blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? So, but you best believe I was lurking on the low, because again, even though I know there's like this sense of accountability, is still you feel the need to protect. Like
Protect, right.
don't come for my sister, right? Enya says redemption is a beautiful thing. I'm really happy for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Rico had a question for you, Tata. I think he's asking, since you have been home, any judgment from your kids? I know our kids can really disappoint us, but we can also really disappoint our kids. So did that dynamic change on your return?
No, it did not. They welcomed me home. They was excited. We talked. No. There was disappointing. I would say there was more disappointing in the beginning because it was like, I remember driving in the car with my daughter, and my co-defendant had got her like 2 or 3 months before. And I remember riding in the car with my daughter, and she was like, such and such got arrested. And I was like, yeah. My daughter was just like, I wonder what happened. And I'm just driving like, I don't know. Sometimes people just make decisions, whatever. So when she found out now, months later, when I got arrested, she was kind of disappointed because she was like, Ma, I remember us having this conversation when such and such got arrested. Like, why did you even decide this is, why did you choose this, And it was just like, that was a disappointment in the beginning. And then after I came home, no disappointment. We talked, they forgave me, and we move forward.
Yeah. I see some new people come in the room, so I'm going to go ahead and acknowledge them, Tata.
Okay.
I see Tiffany. She's saying hello, room.
Hey.
We have Vanessa in the house. Hey, Vanessa. Okay. Vanessa is disagreeing with me, Tata. She's saying you didn't have the temper Aisha did.
Oh, we all know Aisha had it. That's a whole nother level. That's Aisha temper can't compare to nobody else. So
Aisha need to go to the hills of Tibet to have some time alone. And just for you guys, those of you guys that are listening, Aisha is our oldest sister. We're not gonna rock her. We're not gonna do her like this today, though. We're gonna leave her alone. She said, Tata, I just want to say you went in a queen and came out a queen.
Oh, thank you.
Sanchez. Oh, that is your people.
Hey, Sanchez.
Sanchez says, big ups to Tata. Self-growth is a blessing.
Yes.
Okay, so Tiffany's talking about the protection. Okay. Darrell, peace to Darrell. I just make sure I waved at him. Peace to Darrell. Thanks for coming and joining us, Darrell. Like I said, if you haven't subscribed as yet, make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you haven't liked the video, go ahead and like the video as well. Okay, let's move on, Tata, because I have some more questions. Okay. Right. Okay. What are some of the things that kept you mentally strong while you were in prison? Because I remember we used to email each other, right? And the first thing that comes to my mind, and that's because I like books. I was like, okay, this is a good time for her to like read different books. And then you said I couldn't send them or something like that. And I was
at that time, yeah.
Yeah, I was highly disappointed. But what are some of the things that kept you mentally strong while locked up?
Letters from friends, cards, email, talking on the phone, friends, family. That was my motivation.
Yeah.
That's strong.
Was it tough? Like, did you get into any fights?
No, but I came close to 2. One was in Puerto Rico and one was in West Virginia.
You were like ready to like fight?
In Puerto Rico?
Defend yourself?
In Puerto Rico, yeah.
Oh, in
Puerto Rico, yeah. West Virginia was more so like, I think she I don't know what her problem was with island people, but she thought I was from Jamaica. So she would always pick trouble with, I always had something slick to say about island people, you Jamaican people. And it was just petty. So I just say what I had to say. She said what she had to say, back and forth. It was actually in the cafeteria. And then we went our separate ways. Okay. It wasn't, yeah.
Okay. Well, Puerto Rico sounded like it was a little rougher.
Puerto Rico was a little rougher, but believe it or not, the person I was going to get a fight with in Puerto Rico is one of our own. So let's not go there. We're supposed to stick together. But like you say, have people on the outside that don't like you for whatever reason, how you carry yourself, such and such, and you both end up in the same place
Yeah.
for crimes. And it's like, oh, you want to show your true colors over here. But on the streets, you never were showing your true colors. So for me, it was more like, I want just boxer, but then it was like you get too much to lose, you know. You get your children to go home because, of course, if you're getting a fight, they're taking away your good days. You're going in the hole, you know. So it came close to it, but then I had to stop and think like, you're not worth it.
Yeah, and the thing about it, that's what I was speaking to when I said like your ability to control your impulsiveness. That maybe, and I was talking about when we were growing up, like, you know, if somebody said something, you know, I feel like you kind of had a temper, right? I think we were all rough, okay?
Yeah.
So so let's talk about this. Just give a little background, okay? So I know, Tata, you are bougie, so I'm not gonna call the place ghettos, okay? Because you be like Paul M. Pearson Garden. Everybody calling that place Paul M. Pearson Garden. So so we are from a housing community on the island. And if anyone is to tell it, they will probably say it's, what would you say? Would you say ghettos was kind of like the roughest?
It was one of the roughest places.
Okay, so if anyone grew up in the projects, you know that there's a stigma that comes with that. Do you agree with that, Tata?
Yeah, back in the days, if you don't have nothing in there, then you don't need to come in. One way in, one way out. So basically, yeah.
Yeah, and the stigma of growing up in there, like people's expectations of you is to be like the bad man or the bad girl. Like I remember in school, you know, so there's this stigma that follows you. And when we were growing up, we got into fights. Okay. I feel like all of our fights was, you know, I say we're gonna leave her alone, but I feel like most of our fights were connected to Aisha. I'm being very honest. Okay. Most fights I remember was connected to Aisha. That's my oldest sister. But I do remember when we were young, you see how you were just talking, like processing that. Like, okay, if I hit her, this is what's gonna happen. You know what I mean?
Right.
So doing that enough time being locked up, by the time you come out, it becomes a part of who you are.
Exactly.
You don't jump to violence
immediately.
Right. So it's not like, you know, we were younger, we were teenage girls or whatever. But do you think, and you could answer this, do you think the environment, because some people might say yes, do you think that I don't think so, but do you think that the environment we grew up in, what we seen, what we grew up around, the culture of that space, do you think that contributed to your experience?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. One of the things that I thought about when I was getting ready for this as well is that, you know, I was thinking about Daddy, right? So Daddy did time in prison.
Right.
We grew up most of our childhood without
him. Right.
Exactly. And you know what I thought about how so many people are so careful with men. Like if their father do time in prison, like so many people are so careful around like either looking out for the signs that that person's son, their son, will do time. But no one really talks about the girls, right? We come from a family, we're 5 girls. Mommy have 5 girls, you know. I don't think any of us would have imagined any of us would have done time, like you said.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? But it's just like it could just be a decision that it's like, okay, I gotta with this time, and I gotta with this time. You know what I'm saying? And then it's like, boom, that's enough. You're not gonna get away again. Now you have to do time. But did you think about that? Like, okay, I'm here and my father was here. Did that cross your mind?
Oh, yes. Yes. I felt like, you know, he wasn't there for us growing up. So I always say the life we had growing up, I don't want for my kids. You know, we know he was an absent father, but he's now that he's home, he's the greatest, he's the best. He is what growing up. Mommy was a single mom, so she always had to do this, be there, do that. And I always used to say to myself, I don't think I could ever put my kids them through what my father put me through. And then when it happened, I was like disappointed in myself because I say, I ain't putting my children them through what my father put me through, but it happened.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to Rico's question in a minute, but I'm surprised because I
Mm-hmm.
only thought about it like yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
getting ready for the show. I said I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna ask her because I was like, I wonder if that crossed her mind. And I want to be clear. Daddy was an absent father because he was incarcerated.
Correct.
He wasn't an absent father and then he got
But
incarcerated.
even though he was incarcerated, we still used to get letters. We still used to get
Right,
cards. Yeah.
right. And seeing the man he is today, I
Mm-hmm.
don't I don't doubt for 1 second that he would have been around. You get what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying?
Right.
So because when daddy came out, he decided to really focus on the grandchildren.
Correct.
Really focus on the
Because
grandchildren.
we
They
were
all
already
know him.
grown.
Yeah, they all know him. They all love him
Yes.
because by the time daddy came out, and I think daddy did a little probably around 15 to 16 years.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time he came out, because we're in steps.
Mm-hmm.
So he came out when I was 16, turning
Mm-hmm.
17, which means you were 17,
Mm-hmm.
and then 18,
18.
19, 20. So we
Right.
were all already almost out of the teenage years,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
When he came home.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I didn't think about it until yesterday when I was processing like how I'm gonna have this conversation. So
Mm-hmm.
I never would have thought it crossed your mind
It is.
either. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Mm-hmm.
But I also put into perspective that we so focus on guys getting
Right.
locked up that no one discuss what happens to the family dynamic when the woman goes away, when
Right.
the mother goes away, when the
Right.
matriarch goes away and is
Right.
locked up, and how
Right.
that affects family.
Mm-hmm.
Rico says, has your experience made you more or less empathetic towards your fellow human beings? And if so, how?
No.
No?
No.
Okay. No. Well, are you more empathetic or less? Like, do you feel like, if someone is going through something, are you more
Mhm.
likely to be like, I feel your pain, I could understand? Or are you more,
Oh,
yeah,
yes, 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 yes,
yeah,
yes.
okay. Because I know in the beginning you was like never. It was almost like that whole never say never. You,
Correct, correct. Yes. Oh, yeah,
no
yeah,
matter who you are,
yeah.
DJ is talking. She said, "Hear the thug coming out." Vanessa said it was a different type of love growing up in PMP. Definitely,
True. Hmm.
definitely. Baba say y'all lucky I should change her life because after this life, both of y'all was getting beat up. For real, Baba. For real. Wow, Hanifa, you come from a crime family. We really are. Rico, we family, okay? We have a lot of similarities more than people know, okay? Most people on YouTube and stuff, they're knowing me now in the form that I'm in now, but this hasn't always been who I've been.
Right.
I'm not ashamed of my background though, not at all. It's definitely played a significant role in who I've become,
Hmm.
right? And I tell people all of this when I all the time when I worked out and I used to go into certain hoods
Hmm.
in DC.
Hmm.
Like I would hear some of the people talking about where the location, where the people live or whatever. And I'm just like, when you grow up in certain spaces, you just kind of know how to carry yourself in certain
Right.
environments.
Right.
You're not in there acting crazy. So
Exactly.
yeah, I have my experience and it is what it is.
Hmm.
Look, Aisha, hello. I done. I ain't got nothing else to say about her tata. She here. Um, okay, so that is so good. How do you finally you are amazing. Good point. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Sanchez said, love it, you're fly. Okay, so let's move on, Tata.
Hmm.
Okay, now there's a question someone had given me. I had to call someone for this one.
Okay.
Did you feel as uncertain coming out as you were going in? So you talked about like not really knowing what to expect, but also still preparing your mind for whatever,
Hmm.
because you were saying like there are probably going to be people that's going to test your gangster, okay?
Hmm.
So you were
Hmm.
preparing your mind for that, but
Hmm.
also still uncertain and probably nervous.
Yeah.
Would you say that you kind of felt those same emotions coming out, where there was like an uncertainty and not knowing what you're going to face coming out?
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. Like I say, it's a whole different place for me. It's bigger than where we come from. So uncertain about everything. Everything. When I was in prison, I was filling out applications because, of course, you could do that before you come home. I was emailing and writing letters to jobs, to places that people that help you with places financially. I was doing it because for me coming out, I was uncertain of what I'm going to face. So I wanted somebody to be like, okay, Miss George, you're coming out on this day, so we could help you do X, Y, and Z. So I was very uncertain of what to expect. Yes.
Yeah. And wait, let's make it sure. Okay. So one of the things that when we were having this conversation, like briefly in WhatsApp, I was explaining to you why I wanted to do self-forgiveness. And even though your story, and we're about to delve into the self-forgiveness part of this, even getting ready for this, I had to really think about self-forgiveness being a journey. You know what I mean? Because it could be one decision. And again, we call it bad decisions. We're not talking about mistakes.
Right.
One bad decision you can live with the consequences of that for a very, very long time. So even though you've forgiven yourself, right, in a moment, something can come up where it triggers that feeling of guilt and shame, right? So you have to deal with, you have to forgive yourself all over again. So that's what I mean, like it's a process and it's a journey. Did you deal with any sense of like shame, like feeling like really low? Because from the outside looking in, I can't imagine you feeling low, okay? Because you always on point, right? Your hair always done. You're always
yes. I felt like I say, and when I feel those times and I feel stressed and I'm hard on myself, I always pick up the phone and I call the therapist. So yes.
Okay.
Actually forgiveness or forgiving myself, I have forgiven myself after my kids have forgiven me. My main concern was their forgiveness, them letting me know, Ma, you good, we forgive you, let's move forward. So after that, I just started to focus on me. My children forgive me, so I have to learn to forgive myself. And that's where the therapy comes in, because same thing when you go and you sit down there, she asked that same question, have you forgiven yourself? And I was like, no, I don't think so. But then I was like, you know what, let me speak to these kids and find out if they're holding anything against me, if they're still upset with me, if they forgive me, and they forgive me. So in my next session, I let my therapist know I starting to, forgive myself, because what I wanted was for my kids to forget everybody else.
Yeah.
My focus was on my kids. I don't want them to be mad, upset. We already passed that stage. Right now it's forgiving. Have you forgiven me? And the answer was yes. So I started to work on myself, self-forgiveness. And I think I'm to this point where I have forgiven myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay. So when you talk about your children, letting you know that they forgave you, did you have a hard time receiving that? Like, did you not believe it at first? Like, yeah, you saying that, but
yeah, because sometimes even growing up with your mother, you'd be mad with her, like, yeah, whatever, she'll get me madness on. Hey, yeah. So for me, for them, it wasn't just a one step, you forgive me, and yeah, no, it was constantly, you sure we good, we here, we there, yes.
But you know what that tells you? Know what that tells you? That forgiveness of yourself really doesn't come from outside of yourself. It really comes from within yourself, because the reality is that everyone around you can forgive you. But if you don't feel forgiven,
right,
you're gonna live like someone who hasn't forgiven themselves.
Right.
So everyone around you can shower you with love. They can do everything in their power to ensure or to make sure that you know that you're forgiven. But if you haven't forgiven yourself, that is how you are going to navigate the world. That's how you're going to carry yourself. And in fact, you're going to be the people who have forgiven you. They can do little things and you're going to read into it. And it has nothing to do with them. It's you, because you haven't forgiven yourself. And
right.
Right. And not just your experience. When we were talking, I had given we were talking about it, and I had given the example of there are people who have situations where they may have had a child. And they had a child, maybe it was a one-night stand, maybe it was with someone they barely knew. Maybe it was with someone that's really dangerous, abusive, whatever that is. But they know that they probably shouldn't have had a child with that person. Now, I
Right.
have my own personal beliefs around that because I really believe that children choose us. We don't choose them. And that's a whole nother conversation. But so someone might be dealing with that guilt. Now you have to raise this child. Okay. And so every time you struggle, every time you are not able to access, maybe you wanted to go to school and become a nurse, but now you have to wait. Right. So that's a delay. That's a reminder of that decision you made.
Right.
Right. And so you still have to deal with that forgiveness. So when I was talking to you, I was like, it's not just, it don't have to be as extreme as going to jail.
Right.
We have these subtle, small, what we would consider small things that we need to forgive ourselves about. Really small things. And a bunch of us are walking around carrying these things. And we're carrying the shame that is connected to those bad decisions. We're carrying the guilt connected to those bad decisions. And that's how we carry ourselves. Sometimes people are not even thinking about it. Sometimes people don't even know, Tata, right? That you haven't forgiven yourself for that particular thing, whatever it is. You know, and in your head it's like everybody's watching, everybody's seeing my shame, like I'm naked before everyone, and it's all in your mind. So that's kind of why I wanted to talk about this topic. But anyway, so let me get in. Leo said, oh, Sanchez said, thank you, Sanchez. The interview is very inspirational. Leo said, so happy she blessed.
Thank you.
Oh, this is Leo. Hey, Leo. Okay. Great conversation, ladies. Yeah, Tiffany said exactly my thoughts. I always felt that your energy spoke louder of happiness and being normal than what you've been through. Very true. Quantum says forgiveness is for the self. It really is. It really is.
Yes.
Denise says, sorry, I'm late. My donkey broke down. Good day, Hanifa. Peace to the chat. And Ayibia is passing through and showing some love.
Hey, Ayibia.
Danique, right on time. Okay. So I want to get into some. And again, I'm going to share the link shortly, guys. You guys can come up and join the conversation. You might want to speak to my sister directly, or you might just want to contribute. You might want to share a story, your own story of self-forgiveness. I would totally love to hear from you about that. Okay. So this I wanted to ask because it's very important for me when I talk to people. What I find, we have a very difficult time bigging ourselves up. We have a difficult time like really celebrating the parts of ourselves that's just like dope, right? Especially Black women. We tend to play ourselves down a lot. And so I wanted to talk about this because where you're at today, right, considering your journey, what are you most proud about today outside of Leo?
Outside of Leo, I would say I'm more proud of myself because I am more focused. I am more driven. I am more go get because, like I say, it's more harder. I don't want to say harder, but I feel like I have to work 10 times harder to prove myself to myself because I feel like before I was more laid back. You know, you had no crime, you had nothing. And then now it's like you come out, it's like you're in a big wall. It has a lot going on. So for me, I feel I'm most proud of the person that I am today, especially within the last 3 years since I've been home. I'm more of a go-getter. I'm more of a, I'm not going to stop. I'm more of a go. This is what I want. This is what's going to happen. I told myself by a certain time, I'm going to get a car. I got my car. By a certain time, I'm going to be in my own place. I'm in my own place. You know, stuff like that. And then I told myself by the end of 2020, I wanted to get my business license and start but I had a slow process with that. But I do have my business license for the new year. So congratulations to me. You know, I'm going to start working on different stuff. But yes, I am more proud of myself to, you know, go. Sometimes I even surprise myself.
Okay. You're freezing up a little bit, just so you know. But Cherie David said, hey, ladies. Heno. Hey, Henry. Ashan says, I wish Hanifa had a daily affirmation audiobook. Start each day in power mode. Oh, don't make me blush, Ashan. So that's the main thing, is that you find that, and you think that that's connected to the time that you did, like
Mm-hmm.
being more driven and
More
okay.
driven, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Mhm.
Rico wants to know, and I think you should, but Rico is asking, not me, because I was going to ask this question. Are you doing any mentoring and intervention for young troubled ladies in the community that may be on the wrong path, some that could be helped by your story?
No, I am not. But if you are out there in the world and you know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that can get me in the door, I'm all for it.
You know, I actually listen, you could start your own organization,
Right.
small organization, just, or just, when I get a little bigger, okay, I intend to, when I get a little bigger in the things that I want to do, I intend to solicit your services.
Well, not a
Because
problem.
absolutely, because you have a story to tell, right?
Mhm.
And I feel like we need to have more transparent conversations
Mhm.
versus performative, where
Okay.
everyone is out here trying to pretend that they're intact and they're
Or
okay and
not.
they don't
And they're
have a
not.
story. But the
Right.
reality is that our stories is a part of our growth, right?
Right.
So who
Right.
you are today, right? That experience
Mhm.
contributed to who
Mhm.
you are as a person today. And so
True.
it's a big thing. And this is why I wanted to have the conversation, because I'm just like, there is not, I don't want to say, there's the shame of
Mhm.
it is all in our mind,
Right.
right? The shame of it is all in our mind, because the reality is that you have something now that you can
Mhm.
help someone
Mhm.
avoid the situation that you went through. So
Right.
in other words, you went through it so that somebody else don't have to.
Mhm.
And I know that sounds crazy and it might sound a little churchy, but
But that's for sure.
I do believe that
Mhm.
it could be your daughter, it could be one of your
And I tell
nieces.
them kids, like,
Yeah.
I went through this, so you don't go through it. I did the experience, so you don't go through it. So you know what to do, when to do, how to do, and what not to do.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
did I did the prison time for me and my kids. So ain't none of I doing it. No, I did it for us.
yeah, yeah. Did you come out, like, you hear these stories all the time? People go to prison and they come out religious.
No,
Was that your experience?
no.
Why not?
No, I don't know. When I was in there, growing up, our father was a Muslim. We would go to the masjid on Fridays and do whatever. And then as he went to prison, mommy wasn't in that because she have two, 3 jobs. She have to work, so she didn't get no time to do all that. So actually, when I was in there, I was trying to read up about it a lot and try to understand the religion and stuff like that. So I wouldn't say no, but I would say somewhat
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. 1 minute. Yeah, I think I remember that, Tata.
Hmm.
Where you were trying to do the Muslim thing. I said
Right.
trying. I said trying, child, trying. Okay. Because, okay, guys, I'm actually putting the stream in. If you guys want to come up and just join the conversation. Um,
Tiffany. Hey. That girl is
oh
crazy.
my God! I thought I be calling you the other name.
Mhm.
Somebody
Mhm.
else have the other name here.
Right.
Okay, we gonna leave that. We gonna take that on real fast. Danique say a guy called Jay-Z once said, Hove did that, so hopefully you won't have to go through that.
Facts.
Yeah, yeah. Peace, my ad. Good to see you. Sean and Tiffany talking about me in the chat, of course. Um, yeah, so okay, so I just added the link. If you guys want to join in the conversation, please feel free to do so. You could come up and just have a casual conversation. I would love to hear from you guys about your stories of your own self-forgiveness. um yeah, so anyway, let me move on to the next question, Tata. So we're
Mhm.
scrolling through. Okay, okay, I think one of these questions I had to, okay, here we go. Now, what would you say to, okay, here it is. What would you say to someone who has made a bad decision and is now struggling to forgive themselves? Maybe they went through what you went through.
Mhm.
Maybe it's someone who had an abortion and maybe when they were younger and they find out later on because of the abortion they couldn't have kids. Maybe it's someone who is in a situation of maybe a single parent where they know they shouldn't have had children with that particular person. They knew it, but they still kind of made the decision. It could be anything because we all deal with it on multiple levels. What would you say to someone who is struggling to forgive themselves currently?
I would say you gotta start within yourself first. Do not blame yourself. It happened. It's time to move forward. If you continue blaming yourself, then you're gonna always be stuck in that one position. You try and move forward. So try to forgive yourself. And like I said, if you need to seek somebody that you have to talk to, a therapist, a psychiatrist, do it. Because some of them is not even, some of them is free. Some people are like, why are you gonna find the money to see a therapist? Do your research. It do have free people out there that you can go to and sit with and talk with. So do not beat up yourself about it. It already done. It's here. Time to move on and start forgiving yourself.
Okay, thank you. We have someone that just entered in. Rico, how are you?
Good afternoon. Nice to meet you, Tata.
Yes, nice to meet you.
All right, make sure I'm saying that right. Thank you for sharing your story with us. I know it takes courage for people to speak about personal things like this publicly. So I'm always inspired when someone's willing to speak up and tell and share their story, because you never know who will hear it and it could help.
Right.
So that's a big thing. But I did have a particular question I was wondering was, how did you navigate? One of the things that I know with people who've been incarcerated, period, we have such a high recidivism rate here in this country because services for people returning to society seem to be very limited and not helpful. And I'm just trying to figure out, I'm like, I came on the tail end, but how long? I think you were locked up, is it like 10 years or something?
No.
How long?
2.
Okay. But I know sometimes when people, there's 2 questions I was wondering, like, how do you get yourself back re-indoctrinated into the workforce with this gap period without, because I know some employers are like, well, how do you explain this 2 years? Were you in school? Were you what? So either you lie and say, oh, I stayed home with the kids, or you be truthful. And then like now jobs, not a lot of jobs will do a background check. So not much use in being too untruthful where they'll find out and there'd be grounds for termination. I was just trying to figure like what were the services readily available to you in your area so that you could be reintroduced to the workplace and not feel like you're going to fall prey to recidivism? Because I understand some guys get out of jail and they figure like, if I can't get a job, I can't get a place, F it, I'm just going to go back.
Right.
And I can get that. That's like, if you're not going to help them, we're creating the recidivism and with the judgment. And I also was wondering, like, how is your dating life? And then, like, when you get back, like you meet a new guy, how is that dynamic, with, look, I need to tell you, because from a guy, I think,
yes,
in society, we're used to guys. I mean, half the guys I bumped into been locked up for a while, but that would blow me away if a woman told me like I was in jail. I'd be like, I know I would be more judgmental. I'd be like, whoa,
yeah,
I don't know. That's a red flag because it seems unusual and it's unfair. Don't get me wrong. I think it's unfair, but I'm just wondering how is that? I mean, I don't even know if you have a dating life. It's not none of my business. But I'm just like, if you have one, or if you go into one, how would you even approach that?
As far as approaching it, is not something when I first meet you, I will tell you, I am a very private person when it comes to my personal life. People like to say I'm secretive, but if I meet you and I feel like it's not going anywhere, there's no need for me to tell you about that part of my life. You know what I'm saying? But if I feel like, okay, 6 months go down the road, a year go down the road, and I feel like, okay, maybe this is where I want to be, I feel that's when the conversation gonna come up. Maybe 6 months, it depends, and we ask about life or where you come from. But I am not just gonna sit down a first date and say, well, let me tell you.
Hanifa choking.
Right. Hold up.
What
did you say? 6 months to a year?
Yes, I have to feel like I could be able to trust you, and this is why I want to be with you. Yes.
That's a long time, though.
That's a long time.
Because that's a big deal.
It could be 3 months and I feel comfortable with you. I'm gonna tell you, but it has to be my comfort zone where I feel comfortable telling you about that. It might not be 6 months to a year. It might be 3 months, 4 months where I feel comfortable.
But I think what me and Hanifa is saying is that you kind of want to get that information out so the other person can decide if you don't want to string somebody along for a whole year.
Well, if you like me, even if I string you along and I tell you that part of my life is either you're going to stay or you're going to go.
Rico, let me say this. That's what I was trying to say. This
is either you're going to stay or you're going to go. Or you're going to watch that part of my life and be like, well, you know what? When I met you, I didn't see that person. Maybe that was your past, but let's move forward.
Nah.
That's how I see it.
I'm going to let you handle it, Hanifa.
It's either you want to stay, you want to go, you don't want to be with a felon, you want to be with a felon.
Let me tell you what I think going on here, Rico. I feel like it's real strategic because by the time she tell them, she already have them wrapped around her fingers. Like this is strategy. This is strategy. So by the time she tell them, they're like, you know, my mind's telling me no, but my body. My body's telling me yes, right? So by that time, they're like, oh yeah, okay, that's fine. Whereby inside before, like she tell them in the second month, they probably have been like, yeah, me know about this. You know, like 6 months to a year.
No, maybe in the second month they probably might still feel like, yeah, it's okay.
Let me ask you this way.
Okay.
You killed your ex-husband, you gonna make him wait a year? If you had killed your ex-husband, it's like you know.
No, that's a whole different crime.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna lie to you though, Rico. Sometimes some of the men that I meet and I tell them about my past, they are so intrigued about it. Like, oh yeah, come in. Like, let me love on you. It's like women coming out of prison is a turn on for men. And I'm like, huh?
But I mean, you did a short amount of time, white collar stuff, so that's different. But there are women that are coming out of jail for some really horrific stuff,
right?
Even if it's drug related or they was addicted, you know, it's like you know, you can't wait no 3-6 months to tell me that.
To each his own. Everybody entitled to their time frame, but that's just mine. Like I said, if I meet you and it's 3 months. 6 months, and I feel like, okay, I get somewhere with this person, we're gonna have the conversation, and after that is either you're gonna stay or you're gonna run.
But you gotta know, like, okay, is this you know,
I gotta feel comfortable telling you it. I have to have your trust. I have to feel comfortable. Yes.
Yeah.
Rico, that was a really interesting question, and because I would have never guessed that my sister actually think 6 months to a year. It's okay.
Yes.
I've never known this.
That's how I feel. If I have to be comfortable with you for me to tell you that part, like I say, if I feel ain't going nowhere and it's a waste of time, I'm not gonna tell you about that. But if I feel like, okay, we on the same page, like I said, it don't have to be 6 months to a year. It could be 3 months, 2 months, 4 months. It's just me feeling comfortable and me feeling like, okay, I feel like this could go someplace.
Yeah,
and to answer your question, as far as coming home with resources and stuff, like I said, in there where they had me all over, but the last stop was in West Virginia, and they had a lot of resources. Now, previous places that I've been, they didn't have those research. You or your family is the one had to do the footwork for you. Now, West Virginia, like I said, I was sending out a lot of letters, a lot of emails saying that I'm coming home this time. I need help with this. I need help with that. And actually, when I came home, I want to say maybe 4 months after I came home, one of the agencies did reach out to me. But in a lot of prison, it doesn't have the resources. It doesn't.
So I have a quick question. So I want to say this, Rico. So my sister don't necessarily have an issue finding men. Right? That's not one of her struggles. She might have some other struggles, but that ain't one. So let me tell you this, right? When I went to visit my sister in West Virginia, I was so sure she had an afro. Because in my mind, she is not getting her hair done. Like, this is how I'm picturing it. I go up there. Her eyebrows were drawn in. Mine was not even filled in. She had a little hairstyle with a little sweep. You know what I'm saying? She had her little makeup on.
Yep.
It was just listen, Rico. She was more decked out than me, and I was the visitor. Me. Okay, so we get there, and I'm shocked. I still have the pictures, right?
Yeah.
If y'all need the receipts, I ain't lying. But she was just like, you know what? If they're gonna put me in this uniform, I am going to put in it, right? So when I pull up to West Virginia, right, and I see my sister, I was just like, this girl, I don't care where she at. She gonna just be a diva, okay? And so of course I'm asking her, like, who do your hair? Where y'all get makeup from? Like, I'm curious at this point. So I just wanted to tell that brief story so you can have an idea of who you're dealing with. She ain't gonna be found looking any type of way at any time. I don't care how much time she's doing. I was shocked. I knew that she was just she would have had the little roll-ups on the edges, the little roll-ups in the back. I just knew that would be no, the hair was slicked down, Rico. Okay, but wait, the eyeshadow was there. My eyebrows were filling. Me who is on the outside free didn't even have my eyebrows filling. And she had all filling. That's when I knew. I was like, she gonna be just fine.
I mean, I know. I hear the stories. Like, obviously, they say when you go to prison, you become pretty resilient because you got to make do a lot with very little.
Right.
So, and then you see a lot of them do come out, and they still have that resilience mindset. But again, the lack of resources of certain communities. It's like if you don't, give them resources to integrate back into the community in a lawful way, then we're almost asking for them to recommit. And that's really not what we want, but it's kind of unreasonable to think that they can just come out here and just start over as if they never missed a day. And then I'm curious about, like I said, the dynamic, because it's so common for us to think of it from a male's point of view.
Yes.
But the female perspective, and that's why I said even it played on with the resources and even the dating, because again, I know guys come out of jail and it's like women don't care if they've been to jail because pretty much if I ain't been locked up for a year, I've been locked up for a weekend. Almost, and especially a black man. Almost every black man I know has been locked up for something. I'm not saying that they did no time. They got pulled over to DUI and you spent the night in jail or a couple of nights in jail. Get out for whatever reason, or so because it's so prevalent. So it's a shame that it's normalized that we've had interactions with law enforcement, justified or not. So that's why I said it's just like it's almost normal.
Yeah. Like, Tata, do you see the differences in how ex-cons that are men are treated from ex-cons that are women? Have you seen that difference?
I would say it's a difference where with the women, they're more lenient on us because it's like they feel sorry. We're mothers, we got to be there for the kids. We are providers, not saying men or not. Right. But, I feel they'd be more lenient when it comes to the women. For the men, it's like, you black, how many times you been arrested? What you want from me? It's like, well, I can't help you. You got to do it on your own. And for them, it's like, I try and here, there, nobody helping me. So what I'm going to do, go right back into what got me in there in the first place. So I think the more lenient and woman, which is not fair, is supposed to be equal. I feel the more lenient and woman where we get more chances than the men.
Yeah, they're probably a little bit more eager to assist women than they are. And you make a good point because the society we live in, that's just men in general. And Rico, I mean, you could speak to this, like the expectations for men is like, we don't care. We don't care about you having a moment. We don't care about your depression. We don't care about none of that. Just get what you need to get done. You're on your own.
But you know what I think about too? It just crossed my mind. So, for example, and I'm gonna particularly couch it in the community of women of color. Like the vast majority of them, if I'm not mistaken, are in there for drug crimes. And they tend, I don't know.
White collar is really
a high number.
Yeah.
And
white collar is up there.
But I was going to ask you that too, because then even when I looked at the ones that when they were saying, they talked about, I saw a statistic somewhere where like most of the women who are in there on drug crimes, they went in there on drug crimes behind a dude.
Okay, well, let me make it clear. I didn't go in behind a dude. Let's make it clear.
No, not you, because you.
No, I'm just saying. My crime was a drug crime, but it had nothing to do with a guy, a boyfriend, a husband, a friend, nothing.
But that is the common story.
But you are right. You are right with that.
And rarely ever do you hear, well, the guy went in jail behind the woman on drugs. It's you know what I'm saying. So that's where I think the sympathy comes from. Is you see all these women in there on drug crime behind the boyfriend. I was just keeping it.
Right.
Just doing that. And it ends up with all this RICO stuff. You know, the big drug crimes. And all they were doing was storing it in their house. And the weapons and things. So a lot of women end up incarcerated behind their relationships.
That's true.
And they get drawn into criminality. But rarely ever do you hear, I've never heard of a case where a man got drawn in, wasn't going to do nothing criminal.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's where I think in my head, and I did know that there was a lot for women of color. So even when you talk about the white collar crime, that might be white women. But
you're right.
Predominantly, women of color are locked up for drug crimes, and the vast majority of them with a boyfriend or something other like that.
That's true.
So that was it. Even with white collar, predominantly white women embezzling and everything else, and that's who do that. They don't trust us with the money for us to do it.
Right. True.
Rarely.
So wait, Tata, do you think that the amount, you know, you talked about like for men, because of how men get treated for having, you know, for being felons, a lot of them return to a life of crime. Because it's very difficult for them, and we're aware of that, specifically Black men, right? Do you think when you were in there, were there people who were like returning, had already been out, and then they've been back? Did you?
Yes, and there was also people in there. The same thing. I don't know nothing else. This is my life, making this money. If I go home and 2 months pass by, and this is females, 2 months pass by, and I can't get a job. I don't know what I'm going to do. I might turn back to the street. Yes, you do have them in there who is returned. Like there was, or sometimes the guy was like, what are you doing back here? The guards and stuff know them because they you know, have been in there multiple times. Whether it was a year ago, 2 years ago, they start back doing the same thing, end up back in there. And I have met women, like I say, who say, listen, if I go home and this money is not coming how it's supposed to come, it's a possibility I'm going to turn back to the same thing of why I'm in here. Yes.
How much did the people, because I know you have some friends on the outside now that you met in there.
Right.
Because you know, I see them in the pictures. I know some of them by name. And you hold them there, you know, to your heart.
Yes.
They're like family at this point because you know, you were locked up with them. How much did they contribute towards like your healing or your self-forgiveness?
Oh my God, a lot. As far as like, they went home before I did. So, you know, meeting people in there, you cool with them, and it's like, you know, their time finishing before your time. So it's like, I might have to find new friends, you know, and it's like, okay, when they go home, they're going to forget about me. They went home and the letters were still coming. The cards were still coming. The Bible verses were still coming. So I was like, okay, if I could be friends with them in here, they're definitely going to be my friend when I go home. Same thing. I have this one home girl, Terrell. Terrell has prayer meeting every Wednesday morning at 6 o'clock. If you know me, you know I like to sleep, but I try to make it my best to wake up 6 a.m. and listen to her prayer line. Me and Terrell talk a lot. We talk about life. We talk about our ups. We talk about our downs. You know, we build each other up. So yes, they do have some good people in there, and they have some people who is just like, it's just for a time. Where they go home, they forget about you, and they have people out there in there who's generally caring people. So yeah.
Yeah, I know when I came, Rico, to what you were saying with the not me seeing the guy who is going in behind of doing something because of a woman. I do remember when I came to visit, there was a husband who was released and he was visiting the wife.
His wife, yes.
They both went in because they got arrested for the same thing.
Crime, yes.
Right, and he got released first.
Yes,
and so he was bringing the kids to visit her because she was near her release. And I remember you telling me the story, and it really warmed my heart because it was a family that was still staying together.
Yes.
After all of that. So he did his time separately, Rico. She did hers separately. So I'm sure the kids were with family. But he got released first, and he was coming with the children to visit her. And I just remember seeing that, and it just gave me like hope. You know what I mean? Like, wow, you know, this is a family that stuck this out. You know, and is really trying to reconnect, and probably will have to rebuild their entire life.
Right.
You know, because they've been gone for quite some time. So do you remember the story? Okay. So I remember, just to your point, Rico, that you know there was a husband and a wife dynamic there as well. Go ahead.
It's a funny thing you say that because there's this New York City rapper, and I can't remember the guy's name. And the girl was a famous rapper. And I think she shot somebody or something and went to jail for a couple. Everybody, y'all know
Remy
her
Ma?
name.
Remy Ma?
Yeah, Remy Ma. Right, her. And her husband,
Papoose,
right? And it was funny because I saw him in a video, and he gave a story about that because she was locked up way upstate from New York City, and he was always going to see her.
Yes.
And he said he knew, like, after a year, he realized he was the only dude that was going up there. He was like, those women, husbands and boyfriends, when they get locked up, don't come see them like the men. He said the wives will do the dudes get locked up. It's a million damn women in Vietnam.
Right.
In the women prison, he said it was just him. He said, you see the mamas, you see the kids, but there's no dudes coming. And I was like,
I remember, you know what, Rico? I remember that conversation with you, Tata, where you were saying that a lot of them their families don't even come and look for them.
Yes.
Right. To the point where I don't know, you're probably about to laugh at this. I don't know how your people got my number, but they did. Somebody you were doing time with, and she was calling my phone just to say hi. And I was like, we never met. But she's like, but you're Tahita's sister. And that was all she needed to know.
Right.
We family.
She explained to me who she was. I think you said she was like the Medea, like she was big.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But you did say that, Tata, that a lot of them, the women in the woman prison, they're not getting visitors like that. They're just kind of left out there, you know, on their own.
Sad.
Yeah.
Do you think it has to do with it? Because when I was driving to West Virginia, I felt like I was driving forever. Do you think it has to do with the distance, or do you just think that out of mind, out of sight, out of mind?
Listen, this is something I say all the time. People find time for what they want and who they want. If I love you, I gonna make it my business. They gonna send you to Africa. I might not have the money, but I gonna beg. I ain't gonna steal. I gonna beg and I gonna borrow for that money to show you that I am there for you. I might not be there every month or every visit, but I'm gonna show you that people have time for what they want and who they want. Is no excuse. And right now we're in 2022 with these prisons. I feel there's no excuse. Some prison they are, but pen to paper. They might not be taking, cards and stuff like that, but a letter says a lot. When you hear mail call, people rushing because now it's mail calls. The officers pulling out the mails and they're calling you for your mail. You standing up waiting. When you look, your name in your car. You walking back to your little cube sad because like, nobody send me nothing. So I always say there's no excuse for when you have somebody in prison. If you don't have the money, a pen and a paper is 99 cents. There's cents. Put pen to paper, put a stamp on it. I don't know how much stamp says now, maybe cents still, maybe $1. If that person is mean anything to you, you're gonna make it your business to be there for that person. Not saying you must be there to every visit, but write them, send cards, send letters, send books. Find out what the rules are for the prison. It's nothing to do right now in 2022. You go online and you find out what the rules is for this prison, what the rules is for that prison, what the do's is, what the do's is. And you let them, show them that, listen, I don't have the money to come visit you, but you best believe I'm going to write you every month. That's how I see it.
And the way you said, Anifa, what's crazy is I don't care how long it is. How can the trip is no further for a man than it is for a woman. And those buses from New York City going upstate be full every damn weekend.
Exactly.
They'll take a 5-hour ride on the bus to the prison, sit through visiting hours, and take the same 5-hour ride home, and it'll do the same damn thing the next weekend.
Exactly.
Can we talk about that? Like, why is that? Why is it that men are kind of like catered to a little bit more when they're in that environment versus women? What do you guys think that's about?
And it drives me crazy because men suffer from abandonment issues, will be the first one to abandon your ass. And I don't know why. I'm serious, because basically when they just abandon them. The women won't, but the whole time they in there, they suffer from abandonment issues, but will be the first ones to abandon someone. It's crazy.
That's sad.
It's not in their favor. They don't like. They'll completely forget, even out of prison. That's why I say when they were doing all that whole women file for divorce at 80%, I'm like, yeah, but the majority of men just walk away.
Right.
They just don't file. They just walk away. They don't give a damn about a divorce. They just leave the house.
You know what, as you guys were speaking about that, it's so funny, we're talking about prison, but I feel like this translates into just regular life, right?
Life period.
Because it's like let's say you go through something, and what people don't realize is that shame and guilt isolates you. So when you're dealing with stuff that you're embarrassed about or you're feeling shame, you actually feel very alone in that. Very, very alone. And this is why it's important for people like you, Tata, to like tell your stories, because people need to be reminded that, hey, I know you went through that, and I know you feel horrible about that experience or those decisions. But guess what? I made bad decisions too.
Right.
And this is what I'm doing. This is what helped me. Because telling your story is not so that people could come and say, like, point their finger, is that hopefully, at least for me on my platform, that someone listens,
right,
and they take it away and say, wow, okay, well, if she could snap out of it, I could do it. She said she got a therapist. Maybe that's something that I need to look into. Maybe I need to surround myself with people,
positive people, right,
into me, because we're talking about jail and it being lonely in that experience. But the reality is that some of us live in jail and have never entered a cell.
Right.
We are in jail in our own minds, from our own experiences, from our own guilt that we're walking around with, and it can be just as much as a lonely place as actual prison.
Right.
And it requires you it could just be somebody coming and encouraging you and just saying, hey, you're not alone. That's it. Sometimes people just need to know they're not alone. Sometimes people just need to know that they're loved. And like you said, a letter is someone is thinking of me.
And then you feel lonely, you feel alone when you're in there too. It's the same thing. That's why I say everybody needs a time in their life where they need to just, take time out of whatever to reflect on yourself, your life, your forgiveness, whatever it is going on. And like I said, mine's just happen to be prison.
Yeah.
Everybody need that escape room, that escape where they need to focus on the self, forgive the self, accept whatever it is that happened, try to change it so you don't be, you don't be stuck in that same place, blaming yourself, not forgiving yourself. So yeah, everybody needs a place, and mine's just happen to be prison.
Let me ask you a question. How was your experiences with the corrections people? I'm just curious. I mean, because some stories I hear, they were horrible. Some stories I hear, somebody might say, oh, the corrections people were, helpful to me, not gonna help me get out, but, whether with, some classes or just, because I try not to believe, while I'm very much on police accountability, I'm trying not to get to the place to believe that all police are bad in spite of all the stuff that we see. I try to look at corrections officials the same way.
Right.
That, yes, some are some real a-holes, but they're not all bad. It's most of them got a job to do, and ultimately, whether you're in prison or whether you run into law enforcement, some of the accountability is on ourselves.
Right. No, it has a good. They have their good and they have their bad. Not saying all of them was good. All of them was good. All of them was bad. For me, I used to try to stay out of the way. But I remember in Puerto Rico, they had the I forget what they call him, not the chief, but he was somebody up there, and I felt he didn't like us, you know, and he was always picking on us from St. Thomas. Everything, it just was a problem. And I remember they was getting ready to ship me from Puerto Rico to Miami, and he just nagging on me and my bunk. He just saying stuff, and I say, you know what? I maybe can't wear your uniform, but you could definitely wear my uniform. Oh, who tell me to tell him? I was like, what's your problem? Like, why are you always picking on us? At the end of the day, we probably can never wear your uniform because we're felons. Right. But you could definitely be time for us to get transport. Line up here, line up there, line up there, whatever. They start calling your last name and your last 3 numbers. I think it was 039 from the islands. Anyway. Okay, so they're calling some over there. So my roommate goes that way. I get called this way. I'm like, okay, fine. So the ones who getting called away by me is the murderers, the people who don't spit on you. And guess what? They line us up, and the male officers, they have this thing called the black box. The black box was put on me because I disrespected him. He waited till it was time for me to leave, to move, to transition to someplace else. And the black boxes are blocks. I don't know if you ever see Con Air, where the prisoners were flying the plane. Yes. The federal prison have a plane exactly like Con Air. Everything you see on that movie is what's on the plane. Now the black box, you remember you chain around your waist, chain on your foot, and your handcuffs on your hand. The black box connects to the cuffs on your hand and around your waist. So therefore, you have to be like this. The black box, if you got to go to the bathroom, you're going to do a number 2. He put that black box on me. And I had to stand like this for the whole plane, right? I had to pee so bad. I remember asking one of the ladies, can you please help me to the restroom? And she said, no, it's your fault that box is on you. Wow. And I'm like, yes, that was my experience. After that, I said, you know what? I need to shut up and leave these officers alone. So in my transition, going different places, it did have some ones that was bad and it did have the good. But for me, I was just like, let me stay out of the way. Riot starting, this starting, fight starting, they're locking us down, they're doing this. No, I staying back. I ready to go home because he could have been more spiteful and take away my time. Yeah. But he teach me a lesson like he's the boss. You know, but just by me saying that comment as I can never wear your uniform, but you could always wear mine. So yeah, it did have some good and it did have some bad. Yes. Yeah. Not all is bad now, not all.
That sounds like that sounds like, you know, it's like a reminder of don't forget who has the authority here. You know what I'm saying? Like petty with your authority, you know? You said something really important. I want you to kind of like go back a little bit and touch on that. Because you were saying like some people do need to take time away to like do self-reflection, whatever that looks like. You know, some people might say, I'm just going to go and not work for a month and maybe go to a totally different country. You might go to the Caribbean, whatever that may be. So the traffics, and you might maybe go to a retreat, whatever, take that time away. And you say yours just happened to be prison. So are you saying, or do you feel like there are things that you have learned or gained that you just don't see yourself gaining those things any other way? Like if it had not been for that experience, you may not have known this about yourself, or you may not have become this type of person. Do you feel that way?
Yes. Yes, because when you're in there, like I say, you have a lot of time to reflect on your life. On the outside, you going. I gotta make money. I gotta do this. I gotta work. I gotta take care of the kids, pick up this, do that. You don't have no time to focus on yourself because you're busy focusing on the kids, making sure you get to work, making sure these bills are paid. And there ain't no bills you have to pay. Ain't no kids you have to look over. Ain't no job. I mean, they did have jobs and stuff like that. I remember I said, I'm never working for these people until I got to West Virginia, where it was a mandatory that every inmate had to work. And we was working for cents an hour. Okay, now when you get your check, it's $25, $20 is like what? So outside is like you going, and there is time for you to reflect on yourself, focus on yourself, you know, write a book. Write down stuff that you want to do when you come out, stuff that you didn't even know about yourself. You start learning about yourself. Maybe stuff you didn't know about your partner. You start learning about your kids, Yes. So
So what about, I'm going to ask about friendship.
Okay.
Okay. So when you went in, because like I told you guys, and I'm going to say it again, my sister is a very likable person. So it doesn't mean that there are people that probably don't like you, but in general, I feel like, you kind of carry that energy that people want to be friends with you. Okay. And so the are there friends that were friends of yours going in that are not friends of yours coming out? And if so, did it have anything to do with you doing time and the dynamics change?
Not really. Just had a couple people that I felt that should have been there more and wasn't there more. I probably didn't know their reasons, but I probably take it, as far as like, you're my friend, why you wasn't there for me or whatever. But I probably never know their reason. Maybe they don't like prison. Maybe they was upset with me, or maybe they just was like, well, you going into you on your own. I don't know. I never, sit and say, well, I wonder how come this or how come that. I just came out. I was like, how come you never checked for me this way? How come I never, I was upset with them because I felt that they could have do more. But like I said, I never know what their reasonings was.
Okay, I asked that because I was going to say that I think there are some people who is just like, I don't really know how to I don't know how to deal with this person at this junction in their life, right? Because like a lot of us come from families and cultures and environment where we really don't know how to like show affection in that type of way. We really don't, and to the point where it's awkward for us. You know what I mean? Like someone is going through something and you don't really know the words to say. So all some of us know how to do is just be there, like you say, maybe just write a letter, not really saying it, knowing what to say, but just saying hi. I remember when we used to email each other. First of all, I was shocked that you guys were able to email. I was shocked. Okay. So I was like, oh, this is easy. But when we would email each other, it wasn't a lot of, we didn't have a lot to say. For me, it was more so just making sure I stay connected so that you can know that you have family.
Right.
And I think you know that. You know what I'm saying? We don't come from a family of we're gonna abandon you because you did something. Like we don't come from that, right? But we also don't come from the most affectionate family either. So at least not publicly affectionate. So I know it could simply be that person not really knowing how to engage you in that space. You know what I mean? Not knowing what to say. Or like I like not knowing what to do. So it's important that you touched on that, saying maybe they just didn't really know what to say.
Right.
But some people could come out of prison and I'm sure Rico could speak to this in this sense, maybe men or where they come out of prison with like anger. Like anger because like people didn't check for them, especially if it's people that they feel they held down.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That could create a whole nother level of like, mental health challenges, because now you could be dealing with depression and because of that. So when you said that, was like, that's important to know, because everyone doesn't know how to deal with people in those situations.
Well, you know what I was thinking that's funny too, though, and I've never heard them doing it for a woman before, but I know like oftentimes in communities of color, and I believe it's even in all communities, but it's definitely in communities of color, they call them coming home parties. Oh, seriously, I mean, like that's a real thing, especially in the hood.
Had one, Tata.
Yeah, I had one.
I see. There you go. That's what I'm where you throw a party because somebody got out of jail.
Right.
And it's you get it. So it's like welcome them back into the community, but it is kind of like, damn, are we really celebrating this? Like you're celebrating them being home.
Yes.
But you can't get lost on
the reason they went in there. Right. The reason.
Graduate college.
Right.
Turn 30.
Right.
Coming home from the military.
Right.
Because I know people, when I came home from the military, I didn't get a party. But my nephew come home from jail and he does. So it's like, it's like, but we do that. But I kind of get it because it is a welcoming back into the community.
Yeah.
but then it also kind of sends just a teensy bit of a bad message. You know, it's sort of like, you know, people can nowadays liken it to throwing a baby shower for a 14-year-old. It's like, are we really throwing a baby shower for a 14-year-old girl that's pregnant?
Right.
We really doing that?
Oh, Rico, I'm gonna have to give you a little bit of pushback on that.
Sure, but I'm just saying, you can give me a lot of pushback on it because, again, I get the positive, but I'm just saying these are positive messages that's tainted with a little bit of negative to it. It's not like, as I say, a 25-year-old woman having a baby shower. It's like that should be the norm, not necessarily a 15-year-old.
So I don't want to digress too much, Rico. However, since we are on this topic, first of all, I think you probably need to go talk to someone about you being frustrated that you didn't get the party and the person that went to jail did. I think that you might be still holding on to that. But you're still holding on to it, Rico. Rico, you're still big mad, okay?
But I just feel that we should be able to celebrate when somebody comes home from prison, because you don't know what they've been through in there. You know, so coming home and you have this big surprise party, it's like, wow, my friends really love me, my family really love me, they support me, you know. And I just feel I don't see nothing wrong with coming home from prison and having a party. Not because I had one, but I really don't. So now if you are a person who always coming home from prison, now that's a whole different. Now if your first offense, you know, you come home, your family's gonna welcome you. I don't see nothing wrong with celebrating.
The 5th time, you ain't having no 5th party.
Huh?
You ain't throwing a party for them 5
No.
Okay.
No. If it's your first offense, I feel there's nothing wrong with celebrating this person for coming home, because it makes you feel good as you know, because you don't know what a person been through in there. So now that they're home, the family and friends and loved one is showing them that, hey, we happy you home. We're gonna throw this surprise party for you. Make you feel good because you don't know what a person personally went through in there. So I don't see nothing wrong with celebrating somebody.
Never ever happen. But if you come home again, Tata, ain't no damn party.
I rebuke that, Rico. It would never happen. I rebuke that in the name of Jesus.
Never happen. However, it could be for the weekend. She ain't going to no damn party. She had her party.
That.
Okay, so I want to speak to this. So I agree that if someone, because you know what, we have a brother that didn't make it back home alive.
Right.
Okay. He did time and he never made it back home alive.
He died in prison.
Or they
kill him or whatever happened.
Yeah, whatever happened. Okay. So I think that there should be a celebration to the fact that it's not a celebration, it's a welcome. It's more so welcome back. It's more so saying we are here for you. It's more so saying you are not alone. So you're looking at it as a celebration. Now, you gave the example of the 14-year-old girl baby shower. Rico, I'm going to push back on you on that, because baby showers are for the baby. That 14-year-old child needs that support.
True.
That 14-year-old child is already dealing with the shame,
the guilt,
dealing with the fear,
forgiveness,
dealing with like shame and guilt. Right? They're already dealing with that. So it is the job of the community to hold her accountable, but still make sure she knows she's loved.
Right.
That is the job of the community, right? And so when you say that, I know there's no hate, Rico, you know it's not. What I hear when adults talk like that about children who get pregnant, I hear self-righteousness, right? I hear like, you know, shame on you. I could have never, would have never, right? And that's okay. But for me personally, I don't care. She could be 12, she could be 13. I don't care. Usually when people get pregnant that young, they already had struggles leading up to that pregnancy. Let's be clear on that.
True.
Okay? Most people are not getting pregnant at 13 and 14 who have 2-parent households and a good life. That is not the stats on that. Usually they are coming from environments that are already challenged.
Correct.
Which actually are the contributing factors to the decision that they've made to where they end up being pregnant at 13 and 14. So what do the community do? We are either going to condemn them and push them further into that darkness, or we are going to love them and support them, right? and encourage them and let them know there is life after what we said that's a bad decision.
Right.
Not a
There
mistake,
is.
but there is life after a bad decision. That is the job of the community. That is our job. That is what we're supposed to do. Go ahead, Rico.
If I could give some clarification, because again, you're absolutely right. But I don't look at it from a point of condemnation.
Okay.
I look at it from a point of not wanting normalization to things and that's the fear. Because you're right, these children come from communities 99.9% of the time of poverty and poor parenting, which breeds this. And the fear is that when we start to normalize things that shouldn't be normalized, then it becomes more pervasive.
Okay.
And that's my concept of it's like, but unfortunately, a 14-year-old girl get pregnant and then she got a bunch of 14-year-old friends and they see it and then they start to normalize, well, is this going to be my way? And because they're all coming from trauma, they're all coming from, communities of poverty, they're all coming from poor parenting, and the normalizing, and we're not trying to normalize it, we're trying to celebrate, but they in their own thought process can sometimes misreceive the message and misconstrue it. So
I get you.
That's just the position I always try to speak from. And even with the women's own part, it's like, I want to welcome everybody back, but I don't want this to be our normal.
Right.
Our normal got to start looking differently.
So the issue that I'm seeing happening is we have a tendency to have this binary way of seeing everything. So it's always an either or. And what I'm saying to you is both of those things, what you and I are saying, can happen at the same time. We can hold the person coming out of prison, the teen mom, we can hold them accountable and still embrace and love them. Those two things are possible at the same time. The issue is that we always think we have to choose one or the other.
Right.
And it doesn't have to always be that way. So I get what you're saying, but the reality is, what does accountability for a teen mom look like? It looks like you're not going to sit in my house and just be a mother. You're gonna have to go out there and you're gonna have to find something to do. Now you're a minor. You get what I'm saying? What does that look like, right? Making sure that they know the responsibility of that child, not the grandmother.
Right.
The grandmother don't need to come in and take over the parenting. The parenting should be done by that child, but still being a support, because here's the thing: she might not even know what that looks like.
Right.
It is the job of the woman in that community to teach her. But you cannot teach me if you're mad at me. You cannot teach me if you're judging me. You cannot teach me if you think that I should be condemned.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. The two things have to happen at the same time. Hold accountable, but still love. So somebody coming home from Rico, I am sorry that you didn't get your party.
It ain't too late. I'll still take it. Outside, you and need to get together. Let me know when to show up.
All right.
It ain't too late.
Okay.
I am sorry that you did not get your party and that your brother, whoever it was that came home from jail, got their party. And you know what? You went out there and you risked your life, and people were like, okay, thanks for your service. Thanks for your service, Rico. And you know what? That was wrong. They should have celebrated you coming back home, Rico. In fact, I need you to call your family after we get off this call, and you tell them they owe you a party.
They do.
You better get your party, Rico.
They act like they didn't know I was coming home. Oh, you here?
My family had a party for my sister.
Yes.
I don't think it would have gone.
She deserved it. No, she deserved it.
Yeah. And by the way, I don't necessarily think I know, Tata, when Rico asked you about dating, I know, and I wanted to highlight Disha's point. Disha was saying that because of what the crime was, it makes it easier for you to delay telling someone.
Right, exactly.
So Rico had made an example and say, had you murdered your ex-husband, you probably would feel a little bit more like you need to tell that a little earlier.
Right.
Do you feel that way?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely, yes.
Okay, so it depends on what the crime is. All right. So I'm gonna go through some comments real quick because we're gonna be wrapping up shortly. I see Mr. Best in the World, shout out to you too. Shout out to Sister Hanifa. Shout out to Rico, to the panel. Knowledge and relationship is in the building. Lensky, thank you for being my other moderator tonight. I love you. I appreciate you as usual. Mr. Best in the World, so Rico, shimmy time. Tiffany was saying, snapping my fingers, Hanifa, we have to continue to show love and support even when we don't agree. And that could be tough. You know, I know Colette had said something I wanted to make sure I highlight as well. Someone's Elston Mercer said, beautiful conversation. Rico, Colette is agreeing with you here. I agree, Rico. They celebrated a little too much in this new culture due to social media. Again, I don't necessarily see it as a celebration. But I think I'm looking at it differently. Go ahead.
And a little bit of fear too is, in addition to what she said, remember they have those reality TV shows now also. It's also promoting a poor image of what is it, teen mom pregnancy. They made them stars. You know, it's like it's a cute thing to be this teen mom, and it's like that just. And then, granted, most of them look of a certain persuasion. Yeah. However, they celebrate them as superstars, but that's the message that I'm just worried about. I just think that we need to just not normalize the behavior.
See, this is a good point. This is a good point Colette is making, and I agree. Being proactive, which is I would love for both of them to embrace her and love her before it happened. So one of the things that I have evolved in this area tremendously, right? And the reason why I say that is this. I know that we have a tendency of when something happens, like my sister went to prison, right? There is conversation. I could decide to have a conversation with her about what she should have done differently, what she could have done differently. I could keep every time I could keep reminding her of the things she could have done, or I could take the route of it's done. She can't undo it.
Right.
So what do we need to do going forward?
Right.
How do we need to help her build herself back up? Like, what does that look like? And so I'm more interested in those conversations because I feel like there's so much pain and hurt and destruction that's already happened in our community. And we want to have conversations about why it happened and how it happened versus it's already happened. What needs to happen going forward? So now, again, this is a situation where I think both things can happen, right? For the parents who maybe need to tighten up so their daughter don't be pregnant at 13 and 14, right? That's a conversation to be had. And also the conversation of reconciliation and redemption. What does that look like? Once it happens, what do we need to do as a community? Right. So there are two conversations. I agree with Colette that needs to definitely take place. And I know we digress tremendously. Tiffany said, oh, it's too late. Talk to your people, Rico. So you should say great discussion.
It's never too late, Tiffany. It's never too late.
Someone says, awesome discussion. This is for Forever Kwan. Okay. Colette said mothers who have kids early should definitely show their daughters a little more grace. Yeah, I agree, Colette. Definitely. Genesis said we celebrating every time we get one of our own back. You know, and that's especially if you pro-black, it's like nope. We glad you're here, brother and sister. You know, Mr. O said absolutely. Okay. Blessings to you at Loverboy Lenski. Colette said, and Hanifa, have you seen YouTube have a section for this culture? It is huge for them to make these teen mom videos. It's a form of celebration. They have teen pregnancy pack. No, I did not know that, Colette.
They had a school somewhere, I believe in Mass, a few years back where they talked about, and all these girls was trying to get pregnant at the same time in high school. The big story about it. I'm like, that's where so I don't think it used to always be this way.
Right.
But now it's on steroids now. That's why I say, you know, at a really, I'd be glad if it was just 17 and 18 getting pregnant. I'd be happy at that. That's a shame that and even that's too young. But when I see it pushed that far down in the age, that's what gets me. That's becoming normal. And I'm like, okay, 17, 18, I'll take it. You're almost an adult. Anything younger than that, just strikes me as a little bit problematic, but no condemnation.
Yeah.
But I don't want it to be normalized.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to push back
on. And Tata, that could go, like what Rico is saying, could go for anything, because you're going to have, like you just said, you had to make it clear to Rico, there was no man behind what I did.
Right.
Like it wasn't motivated by I'm a ride or die. I love him so much. That's not what that's not what happened with you, right? Right. But there are women who look and say, yeah, you know, I'm attracted to this lifestyle. So we're always going to have a portion of that demographic, teenagers, who is going to look and say, you know, no, this was hard. Being a teen mom was hard. And then you're going to have those that be like, no, you know, I can't wait to be pregnant. You know what I'm saying? It really depends. I agree. It depends on what the exposure is.
Right.
But for me, and I think it's because I work with teens so much, and we dealt with like teen moms and stuff like that, I know that a lot of these young children are coming from what we call broken homes. So they're already in pain, right? And now they are about to bring this new life in. And any of us who are mothers or fathers, we understand what it means to be a parent. It's not a walk in the park.
Right.
It's just not. So you imagine a 14. A 14 is what? You just getting into high school, right? And we can go as young as we can go as young as 13. There are people in middle school, you know, who are ending up pregnant. So just put it into perspective that just assume, that's how I do. Just assume that they're not coming out of the best situation. So right away, my empathy kicks in. You get what I'm saying? My empathy kicks in. When I was a Christian, I was a little bit more judgy than I am now. I really was. I was like, I don't care, you know. But ever since I left the church, my empathy is on another level. You get what I mean? I can find. You could teach me anything. Like Tata and I don't have the same path in life, but I would never enter into her space thinking that she's below me. I would never enter her space thinking that she has nothing to offer or to teach me. That's how I deal with everyone. And that includes a pregnant 13-year-old, right? So my approach is a little different, because for me, right away, my mind is like, this person don't need judgment right now. This person needs love. What does that look like? How can I be of service to that particular individual? That's just me. But it doesn't mean that I don't hold them accountable, because we're going to have those hard conversations. When she complaining about not getting sleep, we're going to talk about it. We're going to be like, well, you know what? It comes with the territory.
Comes with it. Yeah.
So I wanted to talk about consequences before we close up, Tata. Are there points, like, since you've been, because you say February 1st is going to be at, 3 years. Rico. February 1st is going to be my sister's 3rd year out, right?
Can we have a party?
Does she celebrate that, Rico?
That's your anniversary.
I'm going to be celebrating in the therapist chair. That's what I'll be. Yes. Okay.
I'll have one for you.
All right.
So talking about consequences, Tata, like when you face certain I don't know if I'm gonna say consequences, but they could be interpreted as barriers, but the barriers are connected to the choice that you made. So it's almost like you made those barriers for yourself, right? When you encounter those things that you know are direct consequences of your action, right? How do you deal with that? How do you navigate that? Do you just say, oh well, I did it, so? Or do you find a way to kind of like, you know what I mean, get around it? How do you face that? When you're faced with the consequences of your actions, how do you deal with that?
Sometimes I'd be like, I did it. I'm going to get over it, keep it moving. And sometimes I beat myself up about it. Because I'm like, if I didn't do this, this wouldn't have happened.
So when you in those moments where you beat yourself up, how do you get out of them?
Take a moment. Like I say, if it's not talking to myself, taking a time out, is calling the therapist on the phone. She might be able to calm me down. You know, we have a little woosah, we're supposed to meditate. And, you know, I call my friend Terrell. Like I said, Terrell is, I could call her. If she can't talk to me now, she'll say, T, give me a minute. I'm going to call you back. Hey, T, what's up? What's going on? I'm like, girl, I just need somebody to talk to. And we stay on the phone, we pray, we talk about it, and we go from there.
Well, and see, I think that's kind of good, because with your friend, she been through what you've been through. Unlike your sister, because I know you could try to say, well, girl, just like this. And I know in your mind, you probably be like, just be quiet. You don't even know what you're talking about. Because I know that that's kind of hard when people have lived through two different things. And I'm like, well, I don't know why you making such a big deal. I'm like, you don't understand.
Yes.
We don't.
Yes.
We don't. And it's like, but I don't understand what you're upset about. And like, so it is.
And that goes also to sometimes you have to surround yourself with people who is positive, people who've been through your situation. You don't want to tell somebody who have no clue about what you're talking about what's going on in your life. Because like they're gonna be like, yo, you'll be okay, pray about it. You want people who've been through what you've been through, or people who be able to motivate you. So you want to surround yourself with good people. You don't want to surround yourself with drug dealers. You don't want to surround yourself with murderers, because you're going to fall back into that same trap. They're not going to be able to teach you and help you. You know, they're going to be able like, yo, let's leave that alone. Come over here. Let's do this. But when you talk to people who experience what you experience, or who is, have their degrees and stuff in it, then it changes everything. So it's always good to surround yourself with positive people too.
So when that friend you told us about, Terrell, when she called you and tell you something like, girl, stop tripping, you take that better because you like, oh, I know she know what she talking about.
Exactly. Yep. And she might have a story with a friend who been through the same thing, or a story with a friend who going through the same thing, and she'll be able to, let's pray, let's talk about it, and let's move forward. It's never gonna be like, leave it alone, you're gonna be okay. It's like, no, tell me what's up. Let's find the reason, or let's find out what's going on, so we could be able to get over that step, get over that hump. Yes.
I know this is kind of a tricky question. Because I know you mentioned when Rico came in with this question about dating that I'm not surprised about. You were talking about like guys that you've met and they find out. I think it's more so why you did time, more so than you did. It probably is a combination of the two, but I think that the why actually makes it a little easier for them to be like, oh, I'm interested. Like, what happened? Like, they're intrigued. Have you ever been in a position where once that's disclosed, like, I don't know, I don't want to say like, I don't want to put it like in a dating situation, but have you ever been in this situation where somebody knowing that you went away for possession of cocaine, maybe somebody's like thinking, yo, you want to do a favor for me? Have you ever been in any situation?
Yes.
No way.
Yes.
Oh my God.
I promise you, last year I went out with my friend. We went by a friend house, game night, play, have fun, whatever. And the conversation came up. Okay, I heard that you did time for X, Y, and Z. So how is this on the island? How is sell? How is sell by the pound, by the weight, by the ounce, by the this, by the that? And I'm like, huh? I don't know what you're talking about. Like, respect me, please. I didn't bring up this conversation, so it's not okay for you to bring up the conversation. You think I'm gonna be like, yeah, they charge this, they charge that. Like, no, because your next question gonna be like, would you do it again? And that was the next question. And after that, I was like, yo, I'm out. I'm driving my own car. I could leave when I want to leave. You're not gonna sit there and disrespect me or make me feel like, and then next thing you don't know who that person is. That you go have that conversation, and then they reach out to somebody and say, hey, guess who was in my house? And this is a conversation we had, it's like, don't disrespect me. Don't make me feel like I didn't bring up the conversation, so it's not okay for you to bring up the conversation. That's how I see it. I'm going to lead, you're going to follow. If that conversation ain't come from me, we're not going to talk about it. And if you feel you want to disrespect me and continue to talk about it and ask questions about it, it's time for me to go. So I've been in that situation where I felt so uncomfortable. And it's like, you were there as a friend, and you supposed to check that person and be like, yo, what are you doing? Right. You just sat there and you just, so when I got home the next day, it dawned on me like, I can't call this person to tell them about themselves. Like, you know the person I am. We ain't just been friends. You know how I am. I don't even talk about that life that with you, because you know what line not to cross with me. What make you think it was okay for your friend to cross that line and ask me those kind of questions? And they apologize and we move forward. But you better believe the next time it happened, I'm sure they're gonna check that person, because they realize like, yo, Tata ain't playing, but them kind of game, like, it's not funny. I did it. I did my time. I'm home. I'm trying to move forward. Don't come ask me how much it is for this. How much, how much. No.
You know what made me ask,
cute and funny, but for me, it's not.
You know what made me, and the reason why there's two things going on here. I actually think that person, again, we go back to what the crime was. because I don't think that would be a conversation had you murdered your ex.
Right.
Okay? I think it's because of the crime.
Right.
And there is, we have, Enrico would agree with me on this, there's a slight glorification in Black culture around that lifestyle, the drug business and stuff like that. So the assumption is that you have no regret. That's the assumption because of the glorification of that lifestyle.
Right.
The reason why I asked that question is because I think of the many women who were arrested because of prostitution. And they came out and they're changing their lives.
Right.
And maybe someone is aware of why they went in. So they feel that they are free to disrespect them.
Correct.
And they're free to deal with them, however, because they're not worthy of love. And they're not worthy of a relationship, because come on, I mean, you already selling your body. You might as well go ahead and give the pom pom up to me right now. What's the problem?
Right, disrespectful.
Right. Go ahead, Rico.
I think a part of it too is, again, if you look at the statistics of women of color that are in jail for drug crimes, they were brought into that crime through a man. So even though you were probably in that less than 0.5% where you did it on your own, most women of color don't decide they're always introduced to the idea of drug sales from a guy, usually a relationship. So he probably thought, once you told him, I would have thought that, oh yeah, probably was an ex-boyfriend. And but it's because if you look at the numbers of women of color that are in jail for drug crime, 99.9% of them got introduced through the drug culture through a man. So it's a natural jump in his mind. Well, she'll do it again,
right?
Or that's how she did it, and maybe she got wiser with it. And then the other part goes to what Hanifa says is, almost no matter what you went to jail for, if I ain't been, some people, whether they say it or not, will still feel like you're lesser than.
Oh yes, definitely.
Always, it's just
definitely. I'm sure I have people out there that felt when I come home, I probably would have crumbled, and it's eating them alive, realizing like, wow, she ain't fall, she ain't crumble, because that's what they wanted from me. So they realizing like, damn, she still ain't fall, she still ain't crumble. I still trying to, better myself, and they wanted me to come home and be like, oh, you here? You see Tata, she homeless. She begging me for money. She calling me for this.
Yes.
You do have people like that out there. Yeah.
However, no matter what you do or how you do, in their mind, they always look at you and see jailbird.
Exactly. And that's another reason, going back to me saying when it was soon time for me to be released, I did the paperwork as far as relocating, because going back home to the islands, ain't nobody could tell me that I was not going to be judged. No way, no how. They would have watched. I know I ain't stealing nobody money now. Maybe if I wanted a job working with money, they would have feel like, oh my God, we can't hire her. She's a felon. And my charges has nothing to do with money, but just because of who I am and where I come from is like, we don't want to hire her. So that goes also back to me saying another reason why I felt that I should have relocated, because going back home to the islands, they're going to throw stones. They're going to feel like it would have been harder for me to get a job, for me to get a car, for me to live my life normal, like how I'm living it in Atlanta, in Georgia. I know that for a fact. People from the islands know I'm not down in the island, but it is a fact what I am saying.
You ask me to the bathroom, they following you. They following you. Like, what am I going to steal here? Jesus Christ.
Right.
You know what I'm hearing in the conversation? A lot of people talk a lot about protecting your peace. I'm very much big on protecting your growth. And that's really what you're talking about, because you're like, okay, I have grown in here, right? And so when I come out, I need to get in a space that's going to cultivate and encourage that growth. And you already recognize, pretty much that St. Thomas was not it was not the best environment to cultivate that growth, right? And to encourage that growth. So that was already you trying to protect your own growth.
Right.
And I said, we talk a lot about protecting peace, but the reality is this: whether it's just one baby step or two baby steps, those baby steps are sacred, and you need to protect them by every means necessary, because people will come in and try to snuff them out and make you feel like you haven't made any progress. Right. And so like anyone that's listening and like you're going through a process right now, of rebuilding a part of yourself, it doesn't have to be your whole life. It can just be a small part of yourself that you're trying to regrow build back up at this time. It's very important the people that you allow in your garden, in your space at that time. You do not want people that's going to come in and trample on your little flowers that's just starting to sprout. You don't want to do that. No, I'm so serious. Yes. And I wrote a status this morning about we need to talk more about how making small changes in our life changes our entire social circle.
Yes.
And I said there are people that just stop drinking, and all of their sudden they find themselves with less friends.
Partying.
Right? There are people who stop smoking, and all of a sudden they find themselves with a smaller circle of friends. There are people who change religions, Tata. And all of a sudden their social circle has shrunk.
Same thing coming home from prison.
There you go.
Your circle maybe were big because of what you were into or everybody were into. And now you come home, you probably realize that life is not for me. You're going to lose a lot of friends. Same thing.
Yeah. So for me, it's just more so, protect your growth.
Yes.
No matter how small it is, protect your growth. It is important, because if you don't, and you allow vampires and thieves to come in, and rob you of that, it can set you back. And you find yourself back at square one. So I don't care how small. And that's why, Rico, we were talking about celebrating. And, Rico, we're going to get you that party. But we were talking about celebrating. And this is what I'm talking about. No matter how small that step is, some of us have never had anything about us celebrating. Some of us have never celebrated anything about ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Like, for me, I in my head, if your friends say they have a business they're starting, you need to have a business shower for them. Gather all the people, just like we do baby showers. Okay? You find out what the business is, like how we find out what the gender is. It's a girl. Put on the invitation, it's a boutique. It's whatever, so that people could know what types of gifts to bring to that shower. That is you celebrating that person. That is the community saying to that person, we are proud of this new venture that you're taking on. We need to see more of that. But what happens is, like, we want to wait until one of us becomes celebrity status.
Exactly.
To celebrate. We want this person have to do something grand. They have to be making millions. They got to be a Rihanna or a Beyonce for us to think that they're worthy of celebration. And I'm like, no, they're regular day people doing things that are huge. But because they're not celebrity, we minimize it. And we have to get out of that. And even not just as a community, but for yourself. I tell people, I don't care how small you think that step is, you better make a big ass deal out of it.
Correct.
Even if no one else does. And so that's why, Tata, we're going to have to get Rico that party at some point. I don't care if it's just a StreamYard party and we got to invite people in and people come and give their encouraging words to Rico. And we invite some family members. Rico, we're going to get this party. I'm so serious.
You got to celebrate, because it's not too late. It's never too late.
No, it's never too late.
It's never too late.
But I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. I felt like this was a really good conversation.
It was.
And it really was, Tata. And like I said, I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
I'm so proud of your big steps and your baby steps. I know that there's still, because I know there are things right now you're working on. So I know that your future is even as brighter than what it is right now. And I'm not saying this to you as my sister. I love you as a person, and I respect you as a person, not because you're my older sister, right? I have to say that. It's not because of that. It's because of who you are. It's the energy you carry. It's the way you carry yourself. It's your resilience, right? It's your ability to snap out of stuff, but also cry if you have to, right? And I feel like crying is so detoxing. I think more people, Rico, if you have to cry about the party, I think you should do so.
I'm about to
help. You cried?
I'm about to.
But I just wanted to say that to you, Tata, that I am proud of you. I think our family is proud of you. Rico, I appreciate you for coming up and asking my sister those questions about dating and so forth. Tata, if you have any departing words, maybe to someone that's listening, you can go ahead and speak it before I close out. I want to give you the floor.
I just want to say thank you, sis, for having me here. Thank you for coming on, Rico. And yeah, if you know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that need a mentor for kids or whatever, I'm here. I'm always willing to help. I'm here. But as far as forgiving, we have to start with ourselves. Forget about everybody else. You have to start with forgiving yourself. If you don't forgive yourself, then you're going to be forever stuck on that hump and trying to get over the hump. So like I say, always have if you go church, your pastor, if you have a friend that been through something, or a friend that could always lend a helping hand or guide you into the right directions, you turn to that person. If not, there's therapy, there's psychiatrists. It's a lot of help out there. Do not suffer in silence, because depression is very real. Like I say, when I first went to prison, I was diagnosed with bipolar, depression, and anxiety, because I'm a person that used to hold in so much and blame myself, and depression kills. So I just want to say, if you are somebody struggling with forgiving yourself, take some time out, learn yourself, focus on yourself, and get that help, because it's very, very, very serious.
All right, you guys heard it here. And next week I am starting my series of I will be starting my series of instilling a positive Black image into children for the whole month of February. We're going to be talking about ways that we can instill that positive image of Blackness into our children. So every Friday is going to be a different focus on how we can do that. So I hope that you guys tune in, because it's just going to be me alone. I'm not going to have any guests. So my panel is going to be open the entire time, so you guys can come up and embark on that conversation with me. Again, I thank you guys for tuning in as usual. If you're here,
thank you guys.
If you haven't subscribed, go out and subscribe. If you haven't liked, go out and like. If you enjoyed this conversation, please make sure you share it. And share the conversation. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It went in directions I didn't expect it to go. And this is why I love Black people anyway. Shout out to Patrice. I see you coming in, and we are going out, sis. But thank you for showing your love. But until next time, peace.
Peace.
Have a good night, ladies.
Night.
All right, Tata, we are...